Alright people, this is the Union Tapes episode number 15, and this time we're going way back to the very start with Curb Dog's very own The Drob Maurice Meyer. We get into everything in this one. We talk Golden Gate scene, Dave Vanderspek, Curb Dogs, Hugo Gonzales, first freestyle contests, the AFA, old skate park contests in Southern California that you've all seen pictures of, and the first BMX halfpipe contest at Joe Lopes' ramp, right up to present day. This is a great listen. There's loads of info in here. A lot of stuff about Skyway, where Maurice worked at one point in his life. Enjoy. Alright, we're good. I'll start off with the usual kind of early days. Just give us a brief history of like where you were born, where you were raised, what you was into when you was a kid, and we'll take it from there.
Let's see. So born and raised in San Francisco, California. 8 kids in my family. Several of them rode BMX and skateboard, different things. So older brothers, a lot of influence there. Grew up in San Francisco public schools, and I was born in '66, so my original days in BMX were the mid '70s. I ballpark, I would say it's like, I know I got my bikes before Star Wars came out, so that would be, I think it was 75, 76.
Oh, really? BMX? Yeah?
It's hard to say because like I bought bikes that were cast off, like secondhands.
Yeah.
So, if you dated by the bike, maybe I had it a couple years later. So,
oh, right, yeah.
Definitely before Star Wars came out, so 76, I would say, safely.
So, did the skate boom happen before that then, right, in California?
For me, yeah. I mean, skateboarding had different waves, right? Like I first rode a skateboard probably 77-ish. And
okay.
So I entered at right near the end of the urethane wheels, but loose ball.
Yeah.
And then it got to sealed bearings, and from there. So before that, there was that was kind of the era of the high jump and the daffies, doing 2 skateboards and
handstands and
long
stuff.
boards without a lot of tail and stuff. Yeah. So, so I missed that part. Like my friends had bonsai skateboards and stuff like that in the very beginning. Yeah. But then it quickly went to like, the boards got wider, 9-inch, 10-inch boards, wider than now even. So, between, skateboarding, let's say between 77 and 79, 80 or something like that. And then back to BMX more around, I'm going to say 81, 82. I mean, it's really fuzzy, but.
So you had a BMX before you skated, and then you skated and then got another BMX?
Yeah, okay. Yeah. And my brothers, the things I had so many older brothers, there was like a pod of 5 of us. And I'm just one younger than me, so the few that are older were into things. And so my brother Ray, who ended up skating pro freestyle for Santa Cruz, he was into, it's funny because he was into like 10 speeds and stuff back then, like breaking away and all, that era. And then he started getting Skateboarder magazine when I was a little kid. So the first time I'd be looking at Skateboarder. My other brother was getting Bicycle Motocross Action. And so I hung out with that brother more outside. And so he had a BMX bike, and then I got his cast off stuff.
Okay.
So that's how BMX started for me. Like, it started really slow because he started, the first frame I got, the first 20-inch frame was like a cast off Schwinn, like all spray bombed, right? And so I had to build it up. It wasn't like a Christmas present or something, right? Like so I was always kind of following his lead on that stuff. And then I don't know why, but when skateboarding kicked in, because my brother was doing it, and I was like, oh, okay, because back then you kind of did both. You're a kid messing around, right? It wasn't like a serious like life choice at the time, right?
Yeah.
And then I think it was also because the brother that was that was BMX riding, he got into girls, or you know what I mean. He peels off the other brothers there, and so like I start doing riding with him, and I meet more skateboarding friends, and all of a sudden there's this cool scene there. They had a skate shop in the city. You know, we're talking again 70s, and that guy used to bring us to the skate parks, like the first NorCal parks.
The guy that owned the shop?
Yeah, this guy, Steve Maisels. He was to us, he was like an older guy, balding, you know, like older,
25 or something.
Yeah, right. He had a van and a license, and you're just, and it was the day when you just threw people in the back of the van, right? So so that was like a super cool thing to me, and it was people and friends and stuff. And I was like, wow, this is a cool thing. Like skateboarding's kind of cool. And so I was a grom and not a good skater. I'm not trying to posture like I was any kind of. But the cool thing is, I was already into taking movies. I had a Super 8 camera because I was kind of a Star Wars nut. So right after, skateboarding kicked in a little around. So a little after Star Wars 77, you know. I had got a camera from my teacher, and so I took Super 8 movies of all the skateboarding, the old skate parks, and it's pretty funny because you look at that movie now, and there's like, I got the guy who, so I got Tommy Guerrero. He's like one of my main buddies. So we both BMX kicked off for me, and skateboarding kicked off for him right at the same time. Like, and he rode BMX with us back then. You know, we, like I said, did everything together. You know, we all messed around and did stuff. And then...
so there was skate parks, concrete parks up north at that point in time?
There were, yeah.
Okay, I didn't know this,
Yeah, and that's the thing. They were like if you go dig through old skateboarder magazines, look for anything that says the Winchester Bowl, that was like
I've heard that
big series. Like that was part of the series that they did. And there's serious skating went down in that bowl, like serious contests and stuff. The Hester Pro Bowl or something, I remember. That's like total just memory spew. But yeah, so there was like skateboarding was fully formed in NorCal, right? Like by then they had, you know, but, Tommy and me are the same age. So we were young. We were 12, 13 and, you know, I was fooling around with skateboards, start going to punk rock shows and stuff. And, you know, just like totally little kids, you know, but this guy would take us down to the skate parks, and I'm going to say I probably went 7 or 8 times for real. Like, it's not like, I mean, that's San Jose, so it's like an hour plus drive. But like for me, each time was like, I mean, that was amazing to go out of the city. Yeah, and it was all skateboards then. But I had heard a little bit of like stories about a bike guy. There was a guy, and it was funny because somebody told me this story. They're like, "There's this dude. Yeah, there's this dude that jumps out of that fence over onto that roof on the other side." And I'm just like, that's bullshit. I'm from the city, dude. I don't buy that. You're lying to me. I stupid. I'm a little kid, but you know, I thought I knew everything. And then years later, like I met Hugo, and Hugo told me about it. He's all, I used to ride with Stevie Caballero, and we do this chase thing, and he'd peel off, and then I'd jump out of the fence, you know, like to freak people out. And I was like, oh, okay, I believe it now.
Yeah, I thought you were going to say that was Hugo.
Yeah, you know. But so bikes were present back then, and that's the thing. The bikes were present throughout, not in force, but at least Hugo. I don't know if Hugo got to ride because he was a local, or just nobody else thought of riding a bike in those parts. But there were, in the 70s, there was Alameda Skate Park. I mean, I went to Alameda, Campbell, Milpitas, and Campbell and Milpitas both had for real vert, like tiled out bowls with vert, snake runs, cool stuff. Alameda was like a mellow, you know, like roundy park, And then there was another one I didn't go to, which was the Winchester, the one that had the contests in it. So they had, you know, we had 4 parks. Like
I think Winchester, I've heard of before. It might have been in that Tony Hawk documentary. They might have mentioned that park.
Yeah, he would have come up for contests there.
Sounds I've heard that before.
Yeah, because I feel like those parks, I don't know exactly when, but I feel like they went until maybe 81, 82. Maybe, I would bet 81 if I had to.
They disappeared in 81?
They did, yeah. That's the thing. They went away. No bike contests ever happened there. But there's pictures of Hugo on like a red line with V-bars.
I've seen them, yeah.
Those are, yep. And so that's documented that, you know, the bikes were there too. And then that was the thing. The skate parks died, and I don't know why I changed it out, but I went off for a while. It could have been because we moved. Also, now that I think of it, we moved in 79, and all of a sudden I was disconnected
Okay.
My new neighborhood was pretty sketchy and gunshot-ish and
All right.
kind of sketch. So like I wasn't too keen on riding my bike around there, you know. So anyway, things changed, whatever, and then I picked up a bike again. I'm gonna say '82, maybe early '83, because I started going to Tommy Grove's house. I think, I don't know, somewhere in there. It's all fuzzy what happened first, but I remember just taking a moped to his house. Like that was my first. I was like, oh shit, I need to get out of here now. Go to his house, and his mom would let us sleep over, and sleep in the couch in the garage or whatever. And then there was a Webco with coaster Tufts. I was like, I used to ride these. You think it's so long ago. That was like 3 years ago. It wasn't that long ago. And then we were going out to, that's how the Golden Gate Park thing started. It was already going on. The skaters were going in there, and they used to do slalom and stuff. And
so where that came, the Golden Gate Park came from skateboarding originally.
Yeah.
Okay.
For us,
yeah.
The original thing is they started closing the park off, this one road on Sundays, for anything like jugglers or whatever. Like anybody could come out there, throw frisbees or whatever, and ride 10 speeds through there. And so Tommy lived. Tommy and his brother Tony Guerrero, they both lived like 1 block from the park. So for me, I was like, oh shit, I want to go hang out at their house. There's stuff to do over there, my house is sketchy. I can't walk over it. I don't even want to walk down the street here, so that sort of picked up, we were just doing all kinds of stuff, it's still in this, like, we're not trying to do anything special. We're just going to the park. And there were jumps there too. We had, old school one shot jumps. So we had some dirt, and we're like, so Golden Gate Park was it. Go to the center part and wait for people to collect up, and then we'd go hit jumps, right? Because, at that time, BMX was still just dirt, like to us. It was like, the real BMX was at a track, and like, well, jumping is what's up, So it starts like that. And then like, there were different people. I wasn't really watching the magazines at all at first. And then there were people talking about the skate park riding at BMX, and people would show me stuff. Oh, whoa, that's cool, man! Like, so it was like kind of a buzz in the background, but it was more like watching skating. We're kind of like, we can do tricks on these bikes too. Like, let's do flat. Like, we can do ground tricks here. Why not? We didn't have ramps. Not a lot of space to build, and so it just kind of, that thing like develops, and it was like this. Not many people there really. Like the first scenes, when we first started really doing any flatland there, I would say a good crew was about 14 or 15 people, maybe.
That's pretty good, though.
Yeah, like that was a good start.
And that was, what was that, 82 or something?
I'm going to say safely 83, but safely, definitely 83, and the early part of 83. I wish my photos had date stamps on them. But it would be earlier. Because that Freestylin issue came out in '84, like summer, so it was shot earlier. I have the real dates. It's funny, I worked out by different means the exact dates of when some of these key things went down for us, and it's crazy how fast it happened. Like, but right. So like 83 was like the time where I remember like seeing somebody and going, damn, that guy can do ground tricks. Like Damon Frost was the first guy like that I really went, whoa, people do this, like. And he was like way above anybody else at the time, and super smooth, because he was like he actually is a well-known dancer,
Okay.
He trains people. He lives in Sweden right now and stuff, and awesome guy too, totally approachable, and just the guy's style on a bike was just like super smooth, not robotic, not just doing hops, always moving, flowing. Like I don't have any video of the guy either, but he was a super influence. And so I think a lot of us started going, we can do ground tricks, like just 180s at the time, rock walks, stuff like that.
So had you seen like Bob Haro or anything like this at this point in time? Or?
I personally wasn't that aware of him, or the SoCal stuff, to be honest. I had a friend, my good friend named Ben Rose. We're still good friends, I would say. And he had a subscription, so he would feed me little things. He's like, yeah, that's how these guys do it. And sometimes I'd be at his house, and he might show me something, and I might have caught some things on the newsstand, but I didn't have any subscriptions at that point, so I wasn't getting the full on feed. But sing skateboarding like my brother doing, and I had done some freestyle skating in my little scene before that. So part of it was like, oh well, could do something like that on a bike, like back hops, whatever, and then and it comes slow because at that point we don't have pegs, we don't have it's just handlebars.
Yeah, it's rudimentary, isn't it? Like basic stuff.
But. Yeah. But I totally remember the one day, and like when I think about this, I see a visual riding out to the park. I could tell exactly which way I'm coming out. It's in my head, and I remember thinking in my head like, because at the time I think Pete Lonkarovich won what did he win? He won like a Trans Am or something, right?
Okay.
Like I knew racing was balling, right? Like, they were, these dudes were getting rewarded with all kinds of stuff, right? And so, I remember like that was always in your head. You're like, the real BMX is at the track, real BMX, real BMX. And then I remember coming through into the park, like, and I was going to see my 10 or 15 friends. I was like, you know what? Screw that, man. Like, I'm a freestyler. I don't care if I don't make money. Like, this is something else. It's not as big, but this is what I do. I don't want to do racing. Racing doesn't mean anything to me.
Yeah.
And I don't want to do it. I don't want to, not to diss racing because that's our foundation for sure. But for me at the time, I was like, I could never get to the tracks because my parents didn't drive. We had one track in the city in the 70s. My brother was on the team of one of the bike shops. And all the bike shops, it was a scene. Like, it was a really cool thing for kids at the time. But these bike shop owners would take these kids up to this one track we had, and that was great. But I missed that. That was gone already. And, and so I just remember going, you know what, freestyle, like this is BMX freestyle. And even if it doesn't become anything, I like doing this. I want to mess around with this, do my jumps, ride through the city, hit the curbs, whatever, and we had a good time going. We would show up there. Before Flatland really became a thing of its own, like before it splintered, like show up at the park, and kind of wait for people to collect up, and maybe around noon or 1, we'd go hit some jumps. Everybody jumps, so everybody rode dirt. There wasn't this like, I only do this or I only do this, go do jumps, fool around in the park, get something to eat, mob out, on a pizza shop or something, and then we'd ride through the city. Like the perfect days that I remember riding were all of that. And then just riding through the street, mobbing. I mean, it got bigger once the magazine came out, but like the best days were like doing all of that stuff together. And then just like I was telling Grant the other day, like we'd go down part of it, that no one's going to photograph because we had this like slippery, slidey hill in the Presidio part of San Francisco. You'd slip and slide down this hill. I mean, in like big root things and like full on mountain bike-ish.
Oh, it was off road, yeah.
Yeah, full off road. Like there's trails, like real cut, hiking trails, right? But then we all knew if you cut right through these bushes right here, you go down, you're sloshing, and sometimes it was wet, whatever. But you get to the bottom of that, it flattened out. There was a baseball field and some concrete parking lot. And then we had this, like, we call it 8-footer. It was a side berm for the road that had this, it's like an 8 foot up. Yeah. And we carved a little line in it to make a jump. And that to flat was another hour and a half session. So we had, our whole day was doing different stuff, right? And then we'd go down to Fisherman's Wharf and mess around. And, on the later session, let's say 86-ish time frame, all of that was happening. We'd go there, do freestyle stuff there, and we'd put the hat out just to get some money to eat, get some food and stuff. And, so it was like it was an all day thing. And like people that came in from out of the city, they were probably just, tripping out because they're like, whoa, all this stuff packed together to do, like, so it was, that was like the natural, like non-sponsor, nothing, it just what we.
That was just bike life, yeah.
Yeah, that would be like my favorite days riding was definitely in those time frame,
And who was the crew then? Like, was the local, the constant regulars then?
So that's morphing up to like 86, I would say, because that was the prime. I would say 85, 86. God, I'm going to forget people, and that's going to suck because there were all a lot of cool people there. But Chris and Carl Roth, main guys, Aaron Dole, Tim Tracy, Mark McKee was the main guy. Mike Perkins was another guy. Another guy named Darcy Langless. God, so many guys. Just tons of them, and guys from out of town. God, I feel like I have to. I feel like I have to name all the names, and I'm sorry.
A few of them names I know of, like Mark McKee was the art guy, and and Aaron Dole, obviously. People went on there to do stuff, right? So in the early, what was the picture of the Golden Gate, like the place where you used to ride the Flatland, which had the cover of Freestyling. So that was what was it, 84?
84,
It was Ron Wilkerson.
Yeah.
So when did Ron Wilkerson start to appear?
It's Ron. With Ron, it's funny because Ron's born up in NorCal. He's from outside the city. He was from Nevada, which is, let's say, 45 minutes out, 50 minutes out. He came not long before that. He was kind of, he kind of came in, but he went to LA pretty quick after that.
Oh, okay.
So I want to say he only came a few times, 4 or 5 times in that time frame. Like that might have been his 3rd time to the park.
And he got the cover.
He grabbed the cover.
Was anyone mad at him?
Oh yeah, no.
Oh really?
No, I'm not gonna lie. Like back then, it's funny. I'm glad he turned out to be the friggin' epic rider that he is. 'Cause, there were people like in San Francisco. It's territorial anyway, right? Like, and I'm not talking about like let's fight or anything, but it was like, where are you from?
Yeah,
like, I'm from the Sunset. That's in the Sunset. Well, it's borders the Sunset and the Richmond, whatever. But if you're from the Sunset, you had a little more rights to it than me. I'm from Lake. I'm coming out from Lakeview, which was Lakeview was a little more of a hard neighborhood than the Sunset. But there's a racial thing. Everything you say has got a little. Oh, you're from there. You must know. So so there's all this inner city stuff playing out with kids. We're kids. I was 17 when we first. But so Ron shows up, and. It was kind of like, wait a minute, how'd this dude get the cover? And I didn't know, none of us, I had not seen him ride ramps. I know he was already doing shows. He was ahead of us for sure. He was totally ahead of us. They had the 2-hip trick team. Let me think about that. Yeah, he had 2-hip. I don't know when the time frame of Curb Dogs and 2-hip. I mean, we were early, I think late 83 was when I pinned the actual formation time too. First show was early 84. So I don't know if 2-hip was before us or after us, but it was all right there.
It was around the same time.
Yeah, but I felt like him and Rich Avella had a for real trick show thing going on. So but when for all of us, the park was a casual place to ride. None of that none of it played if you if you were trying to posture like you're something,
Yeah, so it was it was core. The park was the core spot where
right,
yeah.
Yeah, and so so we didn't get to really hang out with Ron much, to be honest. And I remember there was one time when he came, one of the early times, we were we were riding, and we were just riding in the park. And like I said, our MO was we'd meet up there, and then we'd group up and go ride some jumps. There were about 4 little spots, one-shot jumps, nothing, no trails, no flowy trails. But and he him and Rich we said something somehow he was there. We had done it, and you'd form a circle, right? The circle of riding was to so you blocked people from coming through.
Yeah.
It was it was almost like you corralled the people that were spectating, right?
Yeah.
You do tricks around, and you get close to them to kind of push them out, like a cattle dog or something. You were pushing them away, and so we'd make a circle, and I think Ron was coming as we were going or something, and one day, and it was like, oh hey dude, what's up? We try to be cool to people, and it was like. I was like, hey man, we're going to go hit some jumps. You want to come? And he said, oh, we're doing a show. And we were like, what do you mean you're doing a show, dude? This is the park, dude. This ain't a show. So he probably doesn't even know that, but it was funny. And just for the record, I love Ron. We've been to each other's wedding. Ron's a legend, right? Obviously. But yeah, when you're high school age kids, everything's, everybody's checking each other out and doing all that. But, I remember seeing him. I think he did jump. I did catch him one time. It was really funny because we had a spot that opened up only once a year. These casting ponds we had, And they're casting for like anglers, like fly fishing people,
Yeah.
And there were these like different ponds, and they had little things that went out that made perfect corners.
I've seen pictures,
Yeah, that spot would open up, and it was fully locals. Only locals knew that. Like skaters were in it, and so you go ride there, and if you caught the time, you had to wait till the draining really finished. So you'd go there, and you're like, the draining is like, so it was a total thing. You could show up there and be like, shit, there's not much to ride yet. It's still, so you all had to like help each other and say, dude, no, it's still wet. And so you only ended up with like 3 days to ride this place every year if you caught it. And there was one time when Ron showed up, and that was early. That was 83. That was one of the first times I'd seen him as well. I don't know which one came first, but he came there, and I remember him catching a jump, and I was like, damn, the dude can jump, so like, but yeah, he went, he picked up with Haro pretty quick, or GT was first. He got with him, went right, moved down south. Well, I guess he got with GT, and then Haro took him and brought him down south. So I think that's how it went. But he was gone before we got to get real tight, to be honest.
Okay.
Yeah, like, who I didn't mention is Rick Allison. Rick Allison was totally an original guy. That's ridiculous that I didn't mention him. So Rick was from, like, I think Philadelphia area or something. And, but he was a total local to us. He came all the time too.
He lived in Philadelphia before, or he
was like born and raised there or something, I think.
And he
moved.
Okay.
Yeah, and he happened to catch the park right at the early days, and he's actually the guy that had a lot to do with getting Oz to come there and shoot in '84. Right. Like that whole spread was like, it was like Rick sharing a photo shoot. Like, and I've heard this is one of those things, like I'm merging multiple sources, but it was like the week before there was a big race, this AVA race in the Cow Palace in San Francisco, like where all the bands were. I saw Prince there in '84. Like
I've heard the name,
yeah. So big stuff went down there, and big old, and again, like go inside the Cow Palace. I remember just seeing fields of bikes flipped upside down, and the jumps out there and the lights and the whole thing. Well, damn, that's a production, right? Like that, like And so we're outside. There's probably 5 or 6 of us in the parking lot doing tricks, and we just went there to get down, like, not really, no goal, just like, let's go, let's check out the thing. And we got our bikes and let's ride. Because we rode our bikes across the city to get there, like, I don't think anybody drove us. And so I remember I was Vander, myself, Robert Artigo was a guy. He was funny because he didn't go to the park much at all, but he was totally involved in the skate park scene. If you'll catch his name in the early skate park series.
Okay.
But that guy, Wilkerson was there. I can't remember anyone else, to be honest. Like, I'm thinking about my pictures, like who's in the background of the pictures. But like, Vander met John Rodman, who's the brother. Chuck Rodman's the older brother who invented the Tough Wheel, right?
All right.
So like they were in the audience, and they were kind of scoping to get a freestyle team. They had already brought Andy Patterson, Mike Solito, and Bob Medrano out to the UK at 2 different times, right? Like, I think 82, 83. And they were looking for a dedicated freestyle thing. I think it was already in the industry that like freestyle was about to boom, and Osbourne was like, "Hey, I'm making a magazine. You guys need ads. You need bikes. This is gonna blow.
It's gonna blow, yeah."
Yeah, he was like, and they must have seen it at races. They were at the time going to races and shooting, and they must have just known that. I mean, I'm imagining they saw things outside the city that we didn't, where. There's always these guys riding their freestyle bikes or something. RL and Buff had been doing their race shows and stuff. And so,
they had a lot of promo, hadn't they?
Yeah. So I'm sure he knew way more than we knew about what was going on out there. And so anyway, we're fooling around, doing our thing out there and just saying what's up to people we know that might be racing and everything. And then I guess Bob, the way I've heard it, Bob tells, no, it wasn't Bob there shooting. It was Steve Giverson tells Bob Osbourne, hey, when you come up next week, bring a bunch of film to shoot these guys. And I think Bob Osbourne hooked up with Rick Allison because Rick had been going to the skate park series down south.
Okay.
He'd gone 1 or 2 times, I think, by then. And then Rick was like, I guess he did a photo shoot with Rick, and Rick was like, no man, come to the park, you got to see the park on Sunday. And Bob was going, and he said once he got there, he was like, oh shit, this is like a scene, like a freestyle only scene, like what a trip, you know. He didn't come to any jumps or anything with us. He was like, here's the flat ground stuff, right? And Vander and everybody was there, and yeah, I mean,
was that? I can't remember what mag it was in, but the picture of Vander doing the bunny hop, like the real infamous. Was that from that shoot? That
came out of my photo album.
That's just a private photo.
That's a private photo. Okay. Yeah, I put that up on the Curb Dogs page when I made it the first time.
Because that's gone everywhere. Like that's been in print and people.
Yeah, that came out of my photo album, scanned, and it's a funny history. I forget the dates are on that website, but the first place I was published was on that website. And I was just pulling from all my stuff to do. I was like trying to learn to do a website, building, and that was It's funny, that was like before Facebook came out, before YouTube, before like I'm just trying to make a web page.
So was that pre-freestyling?
Pre-freestyle.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, it was.
So Vander was one of the original guys too.
Vander was, Vander was from across the bay, so he came in. So I think the way it went, and I was talking with Damon about it. Damon was an East Bay guy. He was from Berkeley area, and I think he and Vander met there. Dave Vanderspek was a East Bay guy, across the bridge, for the area, right? And I think Damon was around before Vander was. Damon tipped Vander off and said, "Hey, you should come out to the park and check it out." So we already were doing our thing and doing our jumps and stuff, and then Damon was already a hotshot guy, and then Vander came out, and we were like, "Whoa!" And which those guys are like yin yang, totally different styles, totally different looks, totally different riding styles, totally different, just vibes on BMX at all. Vander was full. Vander's alter ego was skateboarding. Damon's alter ego was boogaloo dancing, like fully smooth, flowy stuff, right? So Damon's style, he was like connecting tricks, rock walk to this, to roll back 540 to. Flip out and do front, go right into front hops. It wasn't like, here's a trick, ding, ding, ding.
Yeah.
He was trying to like style it. Vander was like out of the blue guy. Like his skating background was, not a uniform, not a polished look.
Yeah.
And when he first came, it was really funny. He was riding a red Schwinn Sting with mixed match tough wheels, probably because he broke one, and he had like a red and a yellow tough wheel. And then on his, and he's a big dude, right? Like Vander was a couple years older than me, so I'm 17, he's 19, but the dude was, cut, right? And his number plate was like this bodybuilding bumper sticker that he was sponsored by a bodybuilding place or something, or so and so's gym. We were just going, what's up with this guy? Like, and he had wild moppy hair, like, and at first he was kind of intimidating. We're like, but like Vander, like he leans right, he's like, "Hey, what's up, you guys, man? What's up?" Vander's super approachable, and but like for a while it was like Damon and him. You're like, damn, you can see two different directions for BMX, right? Like, and both of them not like uniform,
both relevant,
like hip hop influence with pre hip hop even, like we're talking. Shalimar, we're talking like old school, like soul, and skate semi-punk rock stuff. Yeah, like rip sleeves and whatever. And so it was cool. And they were that they were part of the original small core. And Dave's background was racing. He was already, I think, whatever the lower level A racers. I forget if it's A or AA Pro, but he was not the.
I'm not. Back then, I wouldn't know, but I know that it turned into A and AA. Yeah,
that's what the thing. It's either A or AA. He was in that. He wasn't B. He was A. And so he was the step under. He wasn't going to race Tommy Brackens and them, but he was a pro racer, right?
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and so he rode a coaster brake when I was when we were riding. Damon rode free wheel.
Yeah.
He rode tough wheels. Damon rode rims.
So what was he doing in that photo?
Oh, in the
table photo.
Oh, so that photo, he's straight up tabletopping from a flat. slow roll, and I think if you're the cameraman, he'd be coming straight to you, and he'd kick it up to that, you know. So he's coming at you, but the kick puts the wheel tabletop straight at you. Yeah,
because load of different theories on what was going on there. Like, he's doing a 180, he's doing it, but
no, he did that. I have a couple other photos of my own of him doing it, but they don't look nearly as good as that one. That one has people for reference, and like you can see the guy's handlebars crossed, like these super tall CW bars X'd up, you know, kicked up a little bit. And there's Vander like tabled both wheels way over the bars or whatever. I remember it's crazy.
And was you at this point? Was you known as the Curb Dogs in that era? So that was later. That
photo I think is actually pre-Curb Dogs because I don't think he has. I'm trying to think. Like there's other pictures that went with it. Yeah, I think so. What happened? That was a guy from New York that was walking through the park. He's like, "Oh, whoa, what's up? Can I take your pictures? I just shoot photos and this and that." We're like, "Yeah, man." Do you think you could, like, after he shot a bunch, and I was like, yeah, you know, can you send us some? Like, that'd be cool. You know, nobody brings cameras out here. We don't bring cameras. And so a while later, he sent me a bunch, and I think he sent Damon some, and I was like, damn, look at that. That's nuts. You know, like, and in the other pictures, I'm pretty sure I don't have my plate on, so I'm pretty sure that would be 83 and pre-Curb Dogs. Like, very close, though. Like, we could have even talked about it at that time, you know. It's that kind of thing. But and
the pure chance that photo came about.
Oh yeah, and it wasn't anything that he didn't think of it as freestyle. That's the thing. Like, you know, even then it wasn't tech at all. There was no wheelie tricks. There was but you didn't think of that was just kind of an oddball thing to do, like to do a tabletop off a flat,
Yeah.
Like. That's freestyle trick means you do a rock walk or you do something, you know. And so he didn't think much of it, and you know. But that picture was awesome. I remember for I get my photo of it, it gets a page of its own. Like back then, I was like, no, that's cool. That would get its own page, like, you know.
Yeah, I'm sure that a couple of magazines have printed that as well.
Yeah, it has.
Yeah,
and so that was just by chance. I don't know who the photographer is. You know, I've done high res scans for different people. You know?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think Wilkerson did a poster or something for a while, like. But yeah, I know that's a crazy picture, and I've never seen anyone do it since. Like, and I'm not saying
like that. No.
I can imagine like some of these guys I see now should be able to do it I'm sure if they try.
Well, he was
goofy
footed in that picture though as well.
Is he, right?
His bottom foot was
yeah.
So it was like opposite almost.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, because he's kicking. Yeah, he's lit. Yeah. Yeah, you're right. I think you're right.
Yeah, I think so. I think I've studied that a little bit, and I noticed that his feet were. He's kicking the opposite way to what he rides, basically.
Yeah, and it's a coaster. Yeah, you're right. If he's doing an air, I'm trying to think of pictures of him doing an air.
Doesn't he used to turn to the right? Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. I think he would be. He's flipping this way. You're right. That's funny. Yeah, he's on a coaster brake in that photo too. If that, you know, that's kind of a thing.
So that was like, where did you sort of develop your skills after that kind of the Golden Gate and the draining ponds and did anyone have a quarter pipe, like local guys like skaters or BMX riders?
Not until a while later, to be honest. We had once we got on Skyway, we had Skyway's quarter pipe that was, you know, trailer.
Okay, so did you get on Skyway at the Cow Palace thing?
The Cow Palace thing tipped him off. Then a week later, Osbourne comes and shoots the park, releases the magazine, and so Vander was already onto them, talking about this, and Robert Peterson as well was in there. I should have mentioned him earlier too. He was part of the He was very early. Obviously, he's in the first freestyle. He came in pretty early too. Let's see. So he. Sorry, I missed the point there.
And the freestyling. So then the freestyling came out.
Oh yeah, right. The timeline, yeah. So
then you had the photo doing the infamous photo doing the endo.
Yeah, we all were like mind blown that we got the cover of the magazine first of all. I mean, Ron got it. And you know, like I said, people were kind of like, he's not really one of the dedicated guys or whatever, but a little jealousy. You know, we're not above that, but we were all blown away by the thing. You know, obviously between us, even it was like, oh, you scored or you didn't or something. Yeah. You know, yeah, I mean, I was blown away. Vander got this big 2-page color. You know, he got that doing bunny-hopping over people. And I totally put my Curb Dogs plate in the background. Like I'm sitting on the bars like this on purpose. We were like totally positioning, you know, like trying to milk it. And then, I was blown away because I don't know. I didn't feel like what I did was too spectacular for photos, but you know, Bob Osbourne, that's
looks cool in that picture though.
Yeah, he makes you do a lot. Like that's no joke. He does like you do 15 or 20 endos, and you're like, come on, man, it's just an endo, you know. You're like, but he really like he's adjusting the shot and everything, and he really does get the most out of the photo. You know, he really did not know how to shoot his photos back then, and. I got like a 2-page black and white track stand thing, which was kind of a new thing at the time, I guess. You know, like now you think track stand, that's kind of corny.
Yeah.
But you know, back then that's what we were doing. I don't know where that came from.
That was the newer stuff, wasn't it? That was the stuff that came after sort of Bob Harrow's freestyle sort of moves or whatever. Yeah, and it was like that was the kickoff of a point in time that was balance tricks. You know, and Peterson obviously branded around that, like he was. Called himself the master of balance, and he's doing, I forget what he's doing. He's doing a balance trick like holding, you know, he's on the wheel or something. I forget his position, but his was a total stationary balance trick. You know, and the funny one in that photo shoot though was my friend Mark, who's part of my core. Like I had core 5 friends at that time, and Mark, all of us would hang out at Tommy Guerrero's house. So it was Tommy, Mark, myself, a guy named Art. Guy named Jay and myself, you know, and so like Mark was out of us all. Tommy was on Curb Dogs too for like a short time, but he blew it past it. But Mark is in the freestyle, and if you look closely, like if you blow the picture up, he's doing this like gliding backward, kind of a backwards frame stand trick, and he's got a wife beater on. And if you look close, he markered Curb Dogs. It's hilarious. Like, I think by the way the script is, I probably did it. I think I probably marketed it because it's the bubbly one I do. Oh, okay. You know, that was like the script that you used to do on your folders in school. You know, You know, that's what the funny thing. It's like it's not even it's just some simple kid stuff. You know. So the Skyway stuff came after that mag.
Yeah. So
that kind of is what.
That cemented the deal. Vander, that's the thing. Vander was the hustler guy for sure. He was already, like I said, he's down there. He got John Rodman's number, and he's like, "Oh yeah, we do stuff." And I mean, Vander's the kind of guy he'd tell you, "Yeah, I can jump 6 cars or something." You know, if you jump 2, you know what I mean? Like Vander was like, so he was already on the horn with them, and I think they were looking to have a dedicated freestyle team because I guess they were thinking, you know, we can't have Andy Patterson go into races and try to be a freestyle guy on the side. You know, they would send Andy and the racers over there.
Bob Madrano,
they would go over there for these big races, and at the time they'd kind of sent them around to do freestyle stuff too. Which
they came to the UK and did it. Yeah,
that's what I mean. Like in the UK. So I think Skyway was sizing up for a trip out there at a certain time, like August. You know, they were like, well, we're going to do a Europe UK tour in August. So they were probably, I'm reconstructing, I'm sure they had a timeline in mind, and they were like, okay, we got to get some freestyle guys. We want to get some that are close to us, NorCal area, because they're further north. They're another 4-ish hours north of us. And so like all of that put together, you know, Vander was already on a horn, and then the magazine comes out, and those pictures I'm sure cemented my part of the deal because I had no like negotiating chops or anything. I was 17. I was the head down ride guy, you know. And so Vander worked the deal, and it was originally going to be Damon Vander Peterson that went, and Damon broke his wrist doing GPV downhill bike, right? GPV bikes, and so Damon was out, and I bumped up a level and got in on the trip.
Oh wow! So you weren't even on the first.
Yeah, I was the swing guy. You know, I was the number 4 man. You know, and I was the youngest of them. So
they wanted 3 riders.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think I would have been given stuff, but I wouldn't have been on the trip.
Okay.
You know? And so like timeline wise, I think it worked out that the magazine comes out. Skyway sent us stuff. We went to the Venice contest, I think.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that.
Yeah, and that was crazy. I was like, bizarre. I mean,
so you went to the Venice contest as Skyway guys,
full
curb
geared
dogs.
up, like
what was it like?
Like
did they encourage the curb dogs thing, or was that through you guys being like, well, we're the curb dogs anyway? So.
Yeah, we had it first, and we were definitely going to keep our name. Like
okay.
And I think in the beginning we kind of postured like that, but I think they weren't really that worried about it.
Okay.
I think they were okay with number plate space being ours, because they had. I mean, if you look at the gear, we have about 15 Skyway names on us by the time you get to our feet.
But it's interesting because my friends who went to see the show when you guys came over, they didn't say we went to see the Skyway team. They was like, we went to see the curb dogs.
Curb dogs, yeah. I know. It's a pretty big thing on the plate, right? Like, that's the funny thing, like, just total branding.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was, that's the thing. It was really just me and Dave. I know, people say curb dog and they think Peterson, the three of us. But honestly, Robert had his own thing. He was there was this ground control trick team that he was doing with. So he really wasn't, and that might have started a little after that. He might not have really been repping that at the time, but so it was really Dave and myself were curb dogs on that trip, which whatever.
And where did you get the idea for the curb dogs? Like, did it come from the skates? Like, did you look at the skate scene and see that those guys had kind of crews almost? That's what I thought when I was thinking about it the other day. That
was a key thing. Dave was like, this is a bike and skate.
Okay.
We were bike and skate. The first shows were bike and skate. It was. That's why, like, on the sticker now, I just put freestyle, because it doesn't say BMX on it purposely, because it was both. And so, but the name itself, I don't know. I just remember him coming out one day and he's all, hey man, doing a team or something, and he just said curb dogs. And I was like, oh, that sounds cool. He's like, yeah, let's do it. And he had somebody make our shirts real quick. He had people doing screening and stuff. And,
so you had T-shirts like early.
Yeah. He made we did this one photo shoot, and it, looking at the bikes I had, it was obviously before the magazine, because I know I'm riding the bike in that magazine shoot. I'm riding a Kuwahara with Haro forks, and in the photo shoot we first did with our gear. That actually shot by Bryce Knights, who was like photo
skateboarder,
yeah, Thrasher. I don't know, I'm going to say 15 years. A formative guy on Thrasher, long time friend of all of ours. He's him and Tommy's brother Tony are similar age, and so Bryce was part of our.
Okay.
We're all homies, and he. Bryce offered to shoot the photos, and so in those photos, I know I've got a Gen 1 Haro with those forks, so that puts that in to me in '83, and that was the thing. We did this photo shoot. It was just white shirts with long sleeves with this kind of really basic logo on it, but that was the first set of shirts.
Well, they were made by someone else, or someone just drew them up.
I don't know if Vander made them himself, but really simple logo, like the stickers that we have now. It was literally. It was one color. It was blue on a white shirt, and it was just that dog head, and then the same lettering for curb dog, but just straight across. Like, and I used to always say the D and the O look so much alike. I was like, damn, Vander, it looks like it says curb oogs. So I was like, but it's cool. I think they could figure it out with the dog head. Curb dog. Yeah. Dude, it says curb oogs. But. And the logo now is the original logo. Like my friend Dennis did it, and I just asked him. I said, "Hey man, let's make some clothes, and can you?" And I forget. I think there was something going on where we were like, "We got to rep at this thing." Like, I think it was these the Steve Swoop old school jams they were doing at Woodward West.
Oh yeah,
it might have been that kicked us off. This is fuzzy, but I remember we were like, oh, we gotta like. Brand this and put NorCal in there, and because we're kind of proud of it.
Yeah, because it was all SoCal, right?
Yeah. So we were always like NorCal. We got to show up, you know. And so I remember just asking Dennis. I said, "Dude, this is the original shirt." I took a good picture of it. I said, "Can you turn this into like a round sticker logo?" And just he's good with graphic design and stuff. That's his job. So he he came back with the perfect. I said, yeah, just do curb dogs and freestyle, you know, like, and he just turned the letters. He added drop shadow, you know, just, you know, and I was like, fuck, that's perfect, dude. Like, he's like, what do you think should we channel? Nothing, man. That's perfect.
Yeah, it's a cool logo. Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, that's it, you know. And so he nailed it, you know.
So was it more like Vander that came up with the name and the concept?
Vander was 90% of the curb dogs throughout, for real. Like,
that's good, then, is it?
And I'm saying curb dogs had like, you could say it was maybe 20 people at one point. Like, I lost track of who all was curb dogs, right? Because like Vander, you would party with him. I remember him telling me he went out to Texas to ride with Jeff Phillips, you know, skater Jeff Phillips.
Yeah.
Right? And he's like, yeah, dude, I just got back from Texas, man. Jeff Phillips, the curb dog. He's like, yeah, dude, Christian Asoy's a curb dog, you know. But I'm like, dude, you just smoked him out, dude. You smoke him out and you get him on the team. That's how you do it. And I don't remember doing any shows with Christian Asoy as a curb dog or Jeff Phillips, you know. But I was like, right on, those suits rip, you know. Of course they're on. They could be on if they want. But like, if you look, and there's one ad in that Shreddin magazine, Bill Batchelor did. Vander did an ad there, like a 2-page ad, and you see all these names of everybody. I put it on the curb dog site, but it's funny because like he misspells names, and like all these little rad skaters with their names totally misspelled. And I'm like, damn, those are all curb dogs. All right then, you know.
And then you guys went to like the Venice contest. That was the first outing, yeah.
Yeah, and that would, you know, and I'm saying Skyway. So me, Robert, and Vander all got our stuff and went there as Skyway riders.
Was that the first time you'd seen like all of those other sort of high profile riders were at that contest?
Oh yeah, totally. And it was first time I went to a contest. Period. The funny thing is, like, I entered amateur because I was like, what am I supposed to? I don't know, you know. And I honestly didn't even do that well. I'm going to tell you straight up, like. I fit, you know, fuzz, and it was slippery, sandy ground at the beach. But, you know, it was a mind blower, though. You know, I just remember, you know, we were already jam circle people, right? I remember being there, and you're just like, the jam circle was where it was at for me. Yeah, like that was where you're going to see the best riding. Like the runs were good, you know, but like anything that was hard to do, people wouldn't do in the run. They'd do it in the jam circle, right? So. And that's where we were all vibing with each other. And that was kind of like more of a breakdance style thing, right? Like throw down, you know, come out. And it wasn't as in your face as breaking would be, you know, but it was a similar kind of format, you know. You had to get out there. And so we had a good time. We were acclimated to that anyway, that jam circle. I think a lot of people probably had a friend or two that rode, you know, and would, you know, maybe we're a little more bit shy or something, you know what I mean? But we were just like, oh yeah, this is cool, man. Look at all these people. Like this is awesome. And met a lot of people there. I think I met Eddie Roman there the first time, and like I remember this guy George Kajami, the first guy I ever saw do those forward arm presses. He was like a short, stocky guy, totally just, you know, what the hell? That's like a gut lever, but backwards, like that's nuts, dude. And just all kinds of things. I think Seppi was there. I think. You know, I kind of forget who, and that was actually the first time I saw Ron ride ramps. Oh yeah, yeah, and it was crazy because Ron was he rode undervert ramps. He was
in the pictures. He's riding the smaller.
Yeah, ramp. He's riding the small ramp. He's getting as high as anybody. Yeah, but so I was like, whoa, shit, Ron can ride ramps. You know, like, and like I know at the time he entered Pipeline once as an amateur when Vander was entering expert, I think. And like Ron was totally not a vert guy. He entered Joe's ramp jam as I don't know if it was intermediate or which level, but not expert, right? Because he was coaster brake and he was just not okay with vert. He was not a half pipe rider or a skate park rider to start with, which is nuts now. You know, you think like Ron fully acclimated, obviously. But yeah, like, so he kind of wasn't, and that's because Vander was riding skateboard ramps in the beginning. So Vander rode half pipes, you know, probably more than quarter pipes at the time. Oh, okay. You know, so, but yeah, we all went down there. Dave obviously did well because he was a mixed rider. Dave was doing the Vander roll, which was nuts at the time. That trick was a super show trick for everybody then. You know, I remember seeing Brian Skira there, which was another version of freestyle altogether. You know, like performance. And, like it's funny. And another guy, they call him the Rad Dad, and he's like, what, 25 or something, or 23. You're like, oh, so old.
So the Vanderroll was out already by this point in time?
He did it down there, yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
And what was that, summer of 84?
And I should say the bar endo. Vander invented the bar endo.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
I called it the Vander one-hander before I ever heard of a bar endo.
Which, over here, most people know it as the Cowboy.
Yeah.
Or was the Cowboy, and then there was like the Miami Hopper.
I don't know if that was a version. Yeah, so
the Cowboy was the bar endo, right?
I think so. I don't know if you had to go all the way back or something. I don't know. But yeah, the bar endo, and I've got pictures of him doing it on that 84 trip, the bar endo, like totally. He would do it, and he would do different styles, like he would,
he'd put his hands in different places, yeah.
But yeah, just that, because when we did endo one-handers, we'd do them this way, put the bar against your knee, the safety way, right? Like, and then all of a sudden he's doing it backwards, and you're just like, that must be because that dude's going to the gym, he's got gym membership, so he can do this, and your little brain doesn't do it. You're like, the physics doesn't play out until your body's learned all this stuff, and now we all know so much about how this all the movements of the bikes are. Back then, like, we didn't know it, and you're like, how the hell can you hold that bar cross? It's just, it's going to buckle, the whole thing's going to collapse, and you're like, what the hell? And you didn't realize that once you get it past this little critical part, it's all easier. Right. The flat wheel is helping you, and so, so he did that. I called it the Vander one-hander. I think I named that trick for him because I was like, damn, what's that? That's a Vander one-hander, and then it became a bar endo, and like you said, a Miami Hopper with putting it on the ground, and everything.
So he was inventing plenty of tricks. Like, it wasn't just like...
Yeah, for the time especially, because people weren't... Like when you get to the Aaron Dole, Tim Tracy phase, Mark Eaton, Yeah,
you've gone a few years
Kevin
forward
Jones,
there,
they're inventing tricks left and right, Like, I remember, those guys would crank something. I'm going to try to do it this way, or I'm going to do... So to invent two, crazy, fundamentally different tricks was pretty nuts. So he was. Oh, and the other thing he invented was a tail tap on a bike.
Okay.
He was trying to teach me that in August of '84 when we got on tour, and I could fool around on ramps. He's totally doing that trick. Is that one of the first deck tricks?
Yeah. Was that just on, like, you used to land on the coaster, I guess?
Yeah. Okay. Just land on the coaster and drop back in.
Did he hop, or did he just drop back in?
Hop. Yeah, he would hop. And he had that pretty down, like he had that down, and he could do it on a real vert quarter pipe, like a trailer setup. So he had that stuff kind of right out of the gate, and that was part of the thing when we did our shows. He was the all-arounder guy, and he was the most standout guy. He could bunny hop super high. Like, we always did a thing where I'd do a track stand, and he'd bunny hop over me, and even though I could bunny hop him too at the time. I've got pictures bunny hopping him, but it was just like he had a better bunny hop than I did. We did this can thing, like his tabletop.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, it was kind of like we would do some balance trick, and then he'd do the kick the can, But really, what that was a tabletop. Like he would kick the can, but he'd table it. I mean, if anybody got a good picture, it would be a table.
That became like the quite famous Curb Dogs pick for me, like where Robert Peters and you guys are kicking the cans out. Like, I remember that as being a bit of a thing. So So Venice, you saw like all the SoCal guys, and that was your first contest you went to. And then what rolled after that? Was that early '84?
August '84 is when we went on the Europe trip and came out in Europe and the UK. So it was in between the magazine coming out and then. So this stuff all was boom, boom, boom. Like, from photo shoots to tour, through first contest to tour was like 3 months,
Oh, okay.
And, and I forget, there was a Huntington contest too. I forget if that was, I think that was after we got back, the first Huntington
The early
Beach.
Huntington Beach one.
Yeah, the first one. And, so all that stuff hit off. And then if you went out after that, first Street Beats come out, and early '85, and we go to San Diego contests when those came out.
Okay.
So, right. This 84, 85 was huge change for us and for everybody, because the first freestyle magazine came out. That was nuts, And you know, it was, you know, the cultural part of it's crazy because, like, you know, what Bob Osbourne did was put unsponsored people on the street on the cover of his magazine.
Yeah.
You know, like he's and he didn't stop with Golden Gate Park. That was just the start, you know, the first one.
That was, as far as I could remember, the first time that I'd seen a magazine where the guys hadn't got full uniform.
Yeah, yeah.
So it was just jeans and a t-shirt, no helmet, like you were saying earlier about the
I was wearing like a used football shirt I got at the, you know, I got at the, like,
and it all brought it down to sort of street level. That issue, I guess.
Yeah, and I've heard from people that confirmed what I thought was that it made it way more accessible, I think. I don't know if he did that on purpose or if that's just because that's where the sport was at. You know, but he took it more as a photojournalism thing, and like he went to I mean, I remember getting the reverse perspective when that issue with the tubes from Elgin, Illinois, Kevin Foss and Mark Darnell.
I can't remember that.
They had these rusty, like, metal tubes, and I don't even know what they were balancing on, but they're out in this field, all kinds of, you know, overgrown grass around them, and they're rusty metal tubes, no deck or anything, but they're like true, perfectly half pipes, and they're getting out of them. They even have little canyons to jump. They're doing canyon airs, and, you know, little airs out, but you're just like, holy shit, look at that! That's nuts, you know. And he went out to Elgin, Illinois. I guess those guys sent a letter in. He's all, yeah, I'll be out there. Let's do a photo shoot. And the pictures are great. He got these great shots of that. Those guys got sponsored by, I want to say Cool Horror, maybe.
So they were like, okay.
Yeah. So, you know, here we go. People are sending letters in, getting photo shoots. They had a killer 2-page spread of that, like of that one picture, full color. And those guys get sponsored.
Was that Randy Titchman or was that those guys?
Different. Wait a minute.
Gabriel Mannequin, maybe.
These guys might have got free agent. I might be wrong.
Okay.
They picked up a sponsor though, and I remember because they came out to my house. That's what it was. There was a contest in Pleasanton it might have been like San Diego then Pleasanton, and Pleasanton was 45 minutes or an hour from my house. And so those guys were going to come up to that contest, and they I forget how it got set up, but I was like, yeah, you can stay at my house. Like my parents were cool about all that, you know. We had some space, and so we were like in the full hood, like for real, gunshots outside hood, and people shot, like it was no joke. And so these two guys come. It was really funny because this was their first time out, right? I was working at this guy's flower stand down in the Union Square, like down in the downtown area, just. Cool, I'll sit there and sell flowers once in a while, make some spare money, you know. And I remember I was like, oh yeah, you guys, when you get to the airport, just take the shuttle to downtown. And Union Square is a big place. Come there and come to the store, Saks Fifth Avenue. I'll be right outside. And so they come down, they meet me. They look all like white as a ghost. Start looking at me like, dude, we saw two guys kissing, man. They're like, because they're coming straight out of farmwood territory, you know. Like, I'm just like, yeah, dude, that happens. And then, like, the part I felt bad about is that I was like, okay, well, yeah, I'll get off work or whatever, you know, close the flower stand or whatever. Like, all right, let's get on this other train and go back to my house, you know, and we get there, we get off the train, and they got their bags and stuff, and we're already looking goofy, like three white dudes coming off the train with a bunch of bags, you know, like, I mean, it's funny. And then we get to the house. Okay, yeah, you guys are probably tired, whatever. And I forget how it went, but then I set them up downstairs. We had this 2-flat place that the downstairs was like, my sister was living there at the time. Like I said, we had a big family, 8 kids, so there was sort of an extra room down there, and so they were going to sleep there. And I forget what we set them up with for a bed and everything. But now that I think of it, I'm like, man, that's pretty shanty. But the crazy part is, like, the streetcars. We had streetcars out front, right? Rattly little short trains, you know, one train streetcars. So they were pretty noisy, and they were on the concrete that would have been connecting to, like, they were full concrete right under the rug. And so after a while, they were, man, we think we're going to get a hotel. They were kind of like not about it, you know. years late, a couple of years later or something, Pete Augustin stayed in that same area, and he told me I forgot about it for a while, and when I ran into him again way later, I first see him, I'm like, whoa, what's up? Pete, what's up, dude? I've seen you in a long time. And he's like, man, you still live in that fucking place with the streetcars? he's like, yeah, I woke up that morning out of the fucking streetcar at 7 a.m. or something. Dude, I thought that shit was coming to run me over. I was like, nah, I guess that room kind of sucks. But those dudes from Elgin, Illinois, I think they got, like all of us, you got into freestyle, and you just your horizons expanded or whatever,
the adventure,
build your character or whatever, but that was pretty funny. But yeah, that was the Bob the Bob Osbourne thing, like he was minting sponsored riders every time he went and did Washington DC, and he's got these guys, I never heard of them either, and it was. The only thing I would say is he didn't get out to the UK enough. By the time I came out here, that first one in '84, I was mind blown. I was like, how come I don't have magazine subscriptions at home? I'm like, I haven't even heard about this. What's going on out here? These guys still have skate parks. Like I was like, we went to ROM and South Sea, and I was like, what the hell? These guys still got skate parks. All our NorCal ones were gone,
But had you been to the skate parks in SoCal at this point?
Yeah, I went to. I forget if I even went to Del Mar. I definitely went to
Upland.
Yeah, once or twice. And
you go for a couple of the contests, or?
Yeah, and I hadn't been there before the '84 trip. I think I went in '85.
Oh, okay. So you went after you came here.
Yeah.
So you can. What was the? You did a full Euro tour here with. And it was Skyway Curb Dogs, and the. You went, where'd you go? France, Germany, Spain, UK?
France, Germany, Belgium, Denmark. I think that was it for that. We didn't get into Spain.
Okay.
But yeah, and then the last leg was in the UK.
Cool.
Yeah, and I think we did 3 weeks. So I think we did 2 on all those countries, and then I think we did a full week or almost in UK alone.
Oh, you did a month here?
No, a week.
Oh, a week here, sorry. So you did 4 weeks in total and a week in the UK?
I think 3 weeks. I think we did 2 weeks in the other countries, all those countries, and then 1 UK alone.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and that was, I forget, I don't even know the areas we went to be honest. It's crazy. But I'm pretty sure we were mostly around the south, London and southwards, I would say.
Yeah, I've seen some footage of you guys in Brighton and Bristol.
Yeah.
Obviously, Romford. There's someone you
were we in Brighton? That's crazy. Because
you did a show in Brighton. And
I don't even know which places we were.
And it's funny because I never see, in the mags, you never really see Vander doing airs.
Yeah.
Other than maybe Joe's feature and maybe other feature.
Yeah.
But then in that, I think it might be the Brighton show, he blasts.
He's blasting, yeah.
And it's like, whoa, who was that? And I had to rewind it,
Yeah.
And then he was doing the highest airs out of everyone. And there was good riders there. It was Stupple, Craig was there. There was people who could do airs. And I remember that as a standout. Whoa.
Yeah. He
shot
had
up there real quick.
Yep. Yeah, he was the thing with Vander, he gets solid airs out of the combi pool. That to me is the men from the boys thing. Once I saw that, I rode in that. I mean, probably 3 feet under vert, 3 feet under from the coping or something. I rode it, but that thing was nuts. And man, Vander got a few feet out of that, and that's a 5-6 foot, for real air.
That's the only place in Upland Pipeline that I've seen a picture of Vander airing. He's the combi pool. I've not seen him in the other bowls. So
yeah, and so he was acclimated to real vert pretty early, just like I said, because of skate ramps. Even though Joe's was a local spot for him, that was very close to his house. But that I'm gonna say that if that ramp had a foot of vert, I'd be surprised. That was I would say it was a 9-foot ramp with a half foot of vert, something like that. It wasn't super big.
Touching vert was a lot of the ramps back then. Over here anyway. So, and the UK, like when you did that tour of the UK, can you remember, like, not where you went, but can you remember how the country was back then? Like how much of an eye opener was that? The UK to the US?
Oh, it was crazy. Okay, so like that's the thing. It was cool that we got. It was definitely the right one to put at the end because the level of maturity of the scene was like light years ahead of the rest. We ran into people that did tricks. I remember running into a Belgian kid in a parking lot, and he was pretty good. Like for the time, I was like, "Whoa, check this kid out!" Like, and I took some pictures of him on his bike after. And then there was so leading up to the UK, we went through France, and there were a few people. It was more like people at a racetrack would do some tricks, here and there. Yeah, we freestyle, and then they go race, and so it's kind of like a rollback to a couple of years. It was kind of a couple of years behind, And then I remember Belgium, just because we ran into that kid. There was a kid there. Germany had a couple guys, like the PTR trick team guys were there, and I it's funny because I had met a guy at my local shop in San Francisco that we became great friends. This guy, Bernd Schneider.
Yeah, I know the name.
Bernd, yeah. He total buddies. He stayed at my house a million times. Like my parents were totally like we had people staying all the time. And so I had met him before leaving on the Europe trip. I told him he was like at the bike shop. He was, I'm trying to get some flight cranks, whatever. I said, all right, I think I can get you a deal let's go in here. And I helped him get a deal and like no tax or something. Yeah, not a great deal, but. We're going to come out there. And he's like, I'm in Germany, in Cologne area, whatever. And so I meet him and his friends. And so, like, that scene was a little step up. They, for real, had these guys that had a trick team, PTR trick team. And, they were good. They were jumping over seats and stuff. They were doing rat tricks. And, we didn't get the same ride ramps because, those shows were actually in dirt, too. Like, so that's the other thing. Yeah, that's a good point. But the French shows... We did, like, one of the first ones, we went all the way to the south. And I know the name now because somebody sent me pictures recently. They put together this stage that must have been 8 foot square that was, like, raised like 3 feet or 2.5 feet off the ground. And, like, it was almost like they put tables together, like uneven sketched seams,
And that was your demo space?
That was the space, yeah, no ramp. There's no ramp at all. And so me, Vanner, and Peterson, I got these pictures doing front hops. It's like somebody put 4 picnic tables together. So like this is our scene. We're going, whoa, what's up? Like this. Like we kind of knew that bike shops were where you did shows, but we thought we were going to go do shows in parking lots and bike shops.
Yeah.
But so that was the first one, and then we were doing shows at the dirt tracks in France, and like I've got pictures, and I'm like innovating. All right, I'm going to do some foot plants over on this berm. Then like okay, what do we do? And your brakes are getting all.
So it was just like completely made up. Like there was no structure to them shows whatsoever.
Yeah, and there's the thing: those France shows, there was no quarter pipe at all. So we started out, we're doing that. And then we get into Germany, and then there was a quarter pipe, but the quarter pipe was in the dirt. It's like it progressed along the way. It was like we were working our way through the history of BMX, And so I've got the Gevelsberg, Germany. I remember that. That was the place. It's track in Gevelsberg. And they just set the stuff up, the quarter pipe up on the dirt. And I got pictures of Peterson doing balance tricks and stuff. And I was like, I remember being totally jealous because I was always trying to do these lock up your brake spins from 360, 540s, whatever. And I'm like, shit, my brakes suck. This blows for me. And Peterson's up there doing his balance tricks. I'm like, that sucks, dude. This doesn't screw you up, man. I'm up here splitting out and shit, and just. But at the same time, I'm like, damn, this is crazy. We're in Germany, and Bander's blasting, but great times. I mean, it progresses up, and then I remember. Belgium, I don't really remember. I think we did some shows at like McDonald's and like some of those shows. Well, I think that's where we maybe got onto like actual terrain, but it's like brick. You're like rotted, nasty brick.
Cobbled like
cobbled like thing. And I remember there was a McDonald's or something, and that might have still been Germany. But then we're starting to step up, and then we get to was it Denmark? I think it was Denmark. Now, I might be screwing this up, but I remember Aalborg, wherever Aalborg is, the Aalborg trick team. All of a sudden, I was like, whoa, these guys are dialed. They got a quarter pipe, and they got a full-on team. And there's a girl on the team. I was like, right on. Like, this is like, whoa. And these guys are all chill. Like, they had probably 8 or 9 people on their team. It was kind of like, if you had like a real club, like a sports club or something, and they were the you know, which was cool because it was like everybody gets to be in the show kind of a thing. It wasn't more of a like we're the best of, you know, we're trying to be exclusive, and that was rad. They had a trick ramp, they had number plates, you know. I was like, oh, okay. But then we get to the UK and it's like I saw a copy. There's a press release. Peter Hawkins put press release and, you know, announced Skyway team and blah, blah, and Billy Stepple and Craig Campbell and, you know, it had all of us together, and I was like, damn. You know, look at this. They got and ramp trailer, the whole thing, you know, whole setup and skate parks. And we go by like a magazine. Like, then there were magazines. Germany had a magazine. France had a magazine.
Did the magazines come out in the other countries to cover you guys?
I remember we got in B-Cross was the French one. I forget the name of the German one. But we did get in a German one, maybe even two. I don't know. But I've got those at home. But you know, in the UK, we're like, whoa, this is fully formed scene, and like, and it, you know, speaking the language helps too. Obviously, we're like, not speaking, you know, we're like, hey, oh, thank you, merci beaucoup. You know, like, we're trying to like be nice and everything, and we get in the UK, it's like, oh, we're totally bullshitting with everybody, you know, and you know, Peter Hawkins was a little bit tight, ran a tight ship kind of a thing.
Okay,
but,
so he was your contact here. You just rendezvous with him straight away, and he took you round.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And I should say, so the way it went is the setup, the structure of those tours was Skyway paid to send the rider, 3 riders, and Ken Koster was the tour manager at the time. You know, Ken became president of Skyway later on. He was like sales manager then, I think.
He was with you on the tour.
Yeah. So Ken. And that's a pretty funny thing because I remember getting sponsored, and I was like, "Oh shit, I better straighten up my act now. I'm going to be on a tour with this tour manager guy." Like, and Ken was the biggest clown of them. Between Ken and Vander, it was ridiculous. Vander was a straight up joker, like just full on joker. Like even in France, right away, I got pictures of Vander like on some dude's moped riding it backwards, and all these kids like gloving on him. Like he was just one of those magnetic dudes, like. The kids are all clued, you know, this clown, right? They're like, just like, he was just that dude that all the kids loved him. And Ken, on the other hand, he just like doing the most embarrassing, like, oh my God, dude, you're the worst freaking example of an American ever. Like, just saying shit that as if people in France don't speak English, like saying things, you know, that he thinks he can get away with. Yeah. You know, I forget. I'm not going to say them all, but you know, you're some goddamn dude. They probably speak English, man. Yeah. We're the ones that don't speak. Like, even at 17, I'm just going, oh, dude, this ain't working.
Like a school trip. He's a full grown man.
We go into the first one. Yeah, actually, the first one that I remember him doing was we get into we're in like a train station or some big station, and we go into the bathroom. And there's like, you know, pissers going down the row for like 15 people's worth, you know. There's like 4 or 5 people in there. He gets in there and I'm 3 away from him, like, you know, standard protocol. He's all, oh, damn gonorrhea. And I swear to God, man, I look over and all these people are looking over and what the fuck? You know? Just doing stupid shit like that. I'm like, oh, okay, I guess I don't have to straighten up. Like, he was embarrassing, you know. And Vander, I mean, along those same lines with that, the UK thing. One of the things Vander did was, I think, who was there? I think Craig. I think I heard Craig had a picture of it, which I hope he finds. But we were at the castle, which one? Where the Queen is, right? Like the Windsor Castle, Buckingham Palace. Yeah, Buckingham Palace. And I remember just the view of it. I was standing there. And we get out of the car or whatever, and Dave like looks and he sees the statue of the Queen, right? Is that Windsor? Yeah. So yeah, whichever. Like Craig has the picture somewhere. So if you guys ever grind Craig for the picture, you'll crack up. And it's like a castle, and it's like a little mini roundabout around the thing. I'm sorry, it's the statue. You know, it's not that big of a statue, and it's just a little circle, maybe 10 feet. You know, and the cars could go around it and do like a little mini roundabout or whatever. And so Dave sees that, and we just got out of the car. He runs over to the thing. He climbs up on the top of the Queen's shoulders. And he's beating his chest doing this. And he had this, Vander always had this chicken yell he did, right? He'd go, like he always did that, right? He's up there, and I swear to God, this dude with the limiest accent, like he's just like going around, he's in a cab, and he looks up and he's all, you'll get bloody hanged for that, whatever. Just like, oh my god, fucking Vander. Like, so that was like, I mean, Vander was like how he was. He was just absolute extrovert, always doing goofy stuff, like, just everywhere. Any chance he got, pitch out slides into cars and fade. Like the kids do the wheelies.
Yeah.
He'd be doing pitch out slides and, in a cardboard or something and bring it back and freak people out. And, so we had a good time like that. And, but yeah, when we got in the UK scene, to us, we were just like, whoa, this is happening. And like the riding level was nuts. And Craig was broke off at the time, I think.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and so like it's funny because that time and then the next time at Pleasanton contest I saw Craig. I didn't know who he was. He was one of my favorite riders after I got to see him. In the 80s. If you asked me, I would have said Craig would have been right in the first mention. And but like now I look at pictures and you're like, you see Craig back there in a Skyway hat. I'm like, oh, that's Craig. There he goes.
Yeah.
And there he goes at Pleasanton. Like he's like would go with Peter Hawkins, I guess, to these things. And but yeah, the there were shops. I think we went to Rad City.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that was cool. And I think that's the only shop we went to.
Okay.
But yeah, I remember coming in and just the cultural thing was funny as hell. Like, I'll bet this is it might even be Paul Hudson's sister. I don't know. So we met like the guys that were there. It was Billy Stupple, Craig Campbell, Paul Hudson. I think Mike Canning too. Sometimes I get it mixed up because 86 I went also. So I think
Canning was a bit later. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Canning might have been.
Canning was on 86.
But Paul. I'm sure it was Paul
Hudson, Billy Stupple, Craig Campbell was the Skyway team at that point.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Neil Ruffle a little bit later.
Yeah, and I never got to see him either. That was a bummer. But he, so we were in the van, and I remember during the same kind of loop, like just after getting picked up from the airport, it was, we went, at one point we went by Rad City, maybe we were picking up some parts or something, and then we went...
So you probably went to Rom.
We did go to Rom, yeah.
But the same day, because they're quite close.
That would make sense, yeah. Maybe that was when we did that. And maybe we were picking up one rider, and it was the funniest thing for me in terms of like cultural thing. And it, like in my memory, your memory more repositions things sometimes, but I feel like it was like my first little glimpse into, just getting in the van and getting shuttled back and everything. And I remember we stopped to pick up a rider. It could have been Paul Hudson, I don't know. But I remember going, like peeking in the house. I was kind of just a little in the doorway. And there was his sister was like this goth chick, and she was just fucking ripping on him. The guy were, you what the hell, fuck you, man. She was just grinding on him. And on the TV out in the back was the young ones, right? And I had never seen the young ones. Like we got Monty Python, we got plenty of British humor that was the foundation stuff, Doctor Who, I mean, not humor, but like British shows made it to our regular TV, but I was watching that, I'm just going, oh my God, this guy's sister is gnarly, like she's fucking tearing him up. And then just with the hard accent, I don't know which one it was, but man, she had a gnarly, thick accent. She was grinding him. And then I'm looking over at the young ones. I'm like, what's up with this? And the dude has the bag over his head. The guy with the long hair, was it Neil or something? Neil, yeah. Like, dude has a bag over him. What's up with the bag over this dude's head? Like, I just came in late and I'm like, what's going on over there on the TV? You fucking get it. Just fucking take your shit. Blah, blah. I'm watching the young ones and going, this is crazy, man. What a glimpse. And then Neil, like, I guess he sneezes and all the fucking boogers going. Like, I was just all, dude, this isn't going to play in San Francisco. Like they would put this on the air in the U.S. I'm like, man, this is cool. These guys are way more loose, It's like, and then, that. So it was I just remember the first time in, I was just like, whoa, I'm going to like it here. Like, this is cool,
That's good.
And, the riders were obviously all cool. And once I saw them ride, I'm like, damn, this is,
Yeah, it was over here, like looking back now, you can tell it was like you say, it was quite far advanced.
Yeah.
Like, it was comparative, Was Chris Young on that?
I don't think he was.
Okay, yeah.
I don't think so, because I'm basing that off of the the press release thing, because I have that in my photo album.
Yeah, maybe it wasn't because it was kind of like distance from Scott. But he rode for Skyway, but at some point he kind of wasn't with them. It was weird.
Really?
Yeah, it was something happened there. I don't know what was going on, but
yeah, I think it was all mastered by Peter Hawkins, wasn't it? Like I think it was like if you didn't do what he said, I think he ran a tight ship.
He got mad.
Yeah, I kind of feel like I know. There was much drama after that, and he was very much the tight controller of the whole thing.
Yeah,
but
can you remember the ROM demo?
Oh yeah, mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, because I remember you guys. I didn't go, but it was like they had skateboards.
Yeah,
that was like a thing that people came back with. Like but they like and then he'd be doing a surfer, and then he'd jump on the skateboard. It was like a big deal. Like because no one had seen. Well, for many years, like at this point, the skateboard was getting bigger. More of a skateboard, So people were like, "Oh yeah, they've got these new skateboards. They're bigger." And
bigger. That's funny. I didn't think of it that way.
Yeah, that was one of the things that people came away with. Skateboards.
I forgot he even had that.
And then one of the other things that sticks out, I think, is like what you were saying. You guys had your own sort of style of riding, and the style of riding that we'd seen because was it just a flat and jump demo at ROM?
I don't think there was a quarter setup. We did it
just the bowls, but they're not hard to ride if you've only been there once.
That's the thing. I know Vander rode it, and I've got pictures. I just did some flyouts in the Snake Run or something. And I fooled around there, but I wasn't a skate park rider by any means.
But the overall like movement of riding was like. It was hard, it wasn't like a smooth little, like I know Broad Peterson was doing the balancing, but like people came away with like this thing of like just forcing the bike around, crashing it around, like that was one of the takeaways from that as well.
Yeah, I know people always said, after that, people would say, oh, he does power moves. What's power move?
Yeah, so that would be,
I think that means he's sketchy. I think that means, and that's what I tried to do that. I mean, part of that was purposeful. I always felt like I wasn't that smooth, but I did I always did try to make it in your face. Like for people just in the Golden Gate Park, I was like, here this goes, right in your face. Like one, just something like try to do it fast so they can't figure out what you did, like what was that, So that was purposeful, but there was definitely some sketch mixing.
And then also, like, even though he's doing the balancing with the Coke cans and that, but the actual move to knock the Coke cans off was like a power move as well. It was like, rah! So it's still,
I guess when you think about it was a variation on the typical thing to do would be to bunny hop a guy stand balancing with the seat. That was like, So I guess that was sort of a different variation on. I mean, that's how we used the bunny hop in the show, right? Like, and
it worked. I thought to good effect, especially looking back now. Like at the time, I probably wouldn't have picked up on that because I was too young. But looking back now, I was like, well, these guys are doing kind of like really sort of delicate flatland, and then you guys are like thrashing about.
That's funny, I guess maybe that's true.
And I think the mag here, which did all the coverage for you guys, was BMX Action by.
Oh yeah,
they picked up on that. Because when the articles came out, you could see that there was like a lot of vibe in them pages that had you guys on and the cover and stuff. They almost, like you say about Bob Osbourne, they had a bit of an idea about what they wanted to put out there.
They got it, like that was.
Can you remember who that was? Those guys, was it TLB?
I forget who it was. Like I seem to remember a dark curly-haired guy at South Bank.
Okay.
But I don't know. It could have been different guys at the ROM show versus South Bank. Those might have been different days. Probably were different days.
The photographer was, I think, it might have been too early, but I think it was TLB. But the other guy might be, I think his name was James Black, maybe?
God, I don't know. I would have to look at the photo credits.
But the pages and the photos I thought came out really good.
Yeah. Oh, totally. Like, and I mean the perspective I had back home was like, I was like, okay, we got home, that was crazy. We got to go to Europe, like that was freaking nuts. We're up in the UK they got skate parks. I remember just being like, dude, I just came back from the moon. Like this is a trip. seen some shit nobody's seen. Like, nobody around me. Like, I go to the park. I'm like, yeah, I know I went to Europe, man. We went to, or what's up? I'm just like, dude, I can't even describe it to you. Like, you know, it was just foggy and like just tripping out going. And I remember just thinking, damn, the world just got smaller, you know, like, and I mean, for me personally, my parents didn't have cars, you know, so like I was a take the bus guy, you know, in the city. And like, I went to, before going to that Venice contest, I think I'd been to LA once, across the bridge a few times, you know, like for real, like live in the city, like the park was like the countryside, you know, to me, like, so I was tripping. I was just fully tripping. Nobody in my house, even I think for 10 years after that, nobody in my family had been out of the country. So like for me, that was just like for the whole world, I was just like tripping out. And so I'm sitting there at home just, you know, and starting to ride again and do other things and see what's going to happen with all this. And Ken at Skyway, he's all, man, he's all, the magazines are coming in. I think they would send them to Ken and Ken would send them out to us. And then I remember him saying, he's like, I got getting feedback from them. They really like the flatline. They really like the flatline. I'm all, oh, because I'm feeling like I'm not a whole full rider because Vander's doing all the airs, right? Yeah. I'm like, man, I kind of like don't have that edge. Like I'm all, you know, only doing this piece, you know, like everybody's like all around is what's up, you know. But he kept saying that. And then like first magazine comes in, you know, as they release, I'm like, whoa, fucking killer covers. Look at this. This is rad. You know, super stoked on them. You know, like, and then there's like Curb Dogs 2. Yeah. And I'm like, oh shit, you know, look at this. And there's I got a spread. And the super coolest thing they did was like, if you rewind up until that point, everything I got was a balance trick, right? And I was not about that. Like if I was going to try to like document what I was trying to do back then now, I couldn't find footage for it because I was trying to do all these spin tricks. To me, like that was my thing. I was going to do every variation on a front wheel 540. Let's see if I can get a 2.5. I would sit there at the park and do 10 in a row. And my favorite moment was catching that right position where you just keep spinning. Yeah. And I would do it to where I'd line up on the street painted line. I would aim for those lines because they would spin better, you know? Yeah. And so my whole head was that. I would try to be a rounded guy with balance tricks and other stuff, but that was where I was at. And the UK mag, the Curb Dogs 2 issue gave me that, did the little title with my nickname misspelled, you know? But like, I was super pumped because it was a sequence, and I was like, "That's what you got to do. That's how I want to be shot with sequences," you know. And there were no sequences in the Golden Gate Park issue. I didn't see a lot of sequences yet, you know, from what I had seen yet, like in the early freestyles. I was like, "No, that's what you got to do. You got to shoot sequences." And so I was super pumped on that. I'm all good, man. That's the trick I worked on, getting that X up. I said that was me trying to add something to it. You know, nobody was doing X up 540s. That was mine. You know, I was like, so I was stoked on that. I was super stoked on that. Like,
was that South Bank?
That was shot at South Bank. Yeah.
Can you remember South Bank at that point in time?
Oh yeah, it was mellow. It was totally empty when we went. Yeah. Grant took me out to South Bank a few years ago. I was just like, holy shit! There's all these street artists and stuff, and like you know, the skate parks going on. They were selling shirts about saving South Bank. You know, it was just all jumping. You know, and back then it was mellow.
Yeah, it was empty for forever. Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't think even that day people were skating. I don't remember.
No, the skate thing was really dead at that point in time. Like, 84 was a real bad. Yeah, it hasn't come back up yet.
Yeah, we didn't use the banks at all either. Yeah. I think he just shot South Bank.
It was all shot on the front.
Yeah, just to get the river and stuff or whatever. But
how long did that photo shoot last? Did that last a day, or was that just like half a day?
Yeah, it was like a half day or something. Yeah, it was. I mean, like it wasn't like a Bob Osbourne shit. You know, he got his photos pretty easily, especially with the balance stuff. Yeah, like we probably did 3 kick the cans, or maybe, you know, not many. Like you know, and then you know, my sequence maybe a couple, 2 or 3 of them tried it. And I don't, honestly, I got to be honest, I'm not sure if I pulled that or not. Maybe, I guess we have to check the photos. But yeah, he got that shoot done pretty quickly. But yeah, and then the third one came out, and I'm just like, Curb Dogs 3, what the hell, dude? I'm just like, this is nuts, man. And the other thing that was a realization was that Skyway was like the premier freestyle name
over here.
And like so for us, like we were, to me the GT and Haro were jockeying for first, most known, biggest, But Haro took that pretty quickly once they got their people. But GT and Haro, CW maybe was a premier. I feel like I'm forgetting somebody, but
Hutch.
Hutch, right? Hutch, GT Haro and Hutch were jockeying. You can debate who's what. Haro took it at some point, but Skyway to me was in the fourth and with competition, range.
Yeah.
Back here, right? But over there, over here in the UK where we're at now, they Skyway was taking the back page ads. That to me, I always knew back page ad was the baller, right? Like you get the back page ad, that's the expensive one, And so I was like, wow. So we're actually we slide over here, and all of a sudden we're riding with the best, Like it wasn't like we were coming over and riding with the team that would have been fourth best.
Yeah,
we're riding with the team especially when like you guys over here had Craig and Neil on the same team. That's like Mike and Eddie on the same team. That's crazy. So so that was a trip. That was kind of like, whoa, Skyway name plays well, and obviously we knew at the time that part of the coverage had to do with the magazine, the ad they do by the back.
Yeah.
But like once 3 issues came out, I was like, I don't remember him shooting that much stuff to get 3 spreads worth. Like that's crazy.
But they was at like the other shows as well, weren't they? So I guess they would have been shooting while you guys were riding.
Yeah, I mean, we shot South Bank. Yeah, South Bank and South Sea, I think was it. I don't remember.
Rom, they did.
There was a little bit of
Rom. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. One of the ones I'm doing at track stand, I think, is Rom.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. I think one of the can kicks is at Rom as well.
Yeah. Yeah. So right. So it's probably. I think that was it. Probably those 3 spots. But I mean, I guess you. And when they shoot at the shows, you don't really think that that's magazine shoot stuff. Yeah. So I thought magazine shoot was South Bank. Like that's where we knew. And I remember it's funny because I remember the guy writing down. He had a pad. And I'm like, how did he get my nickname wrong? I gotta spell it out next time. Damn, it's a goofy nickname. Like he's got a. So no, back home we were tripping out, and we had already tripped out that we got that freestyling thing, and And then I'm going, what? We got 3 in a row? Like this is insane. Like we're just the 3 guys, Golden Gate Park guys, and we get all that. And then somewhere at the end of the year, it was the best trick things, and Vanderroll got first, and my thing got second. I'm like, this is crazy, like And so, mind blown, just totally mind blown. I mean, and I think about it, like '84. Who all went over in '84? I think Nori went. I think Ron went, didn't he? Or was that '85?
That was '85.
'85. So
I think Nori might have even been.
Maybe 85 too?
86.
Okay, so Nori would be later. You're right, because he... So, in 84, I think about how many people got to go abroad.
Oh, yeah. So who came here from the US?
Mike and Eddie, right?
Yeah.
Bob Haro, maybe?
He came at the same time as those guys, yeah.
So... I think
never thought about that. Yeah,
I mean, people travel all the time now, right?
Yeah.
Like I think about like if I talk to some young dudes about what we did, it's like, yeah, whatever, dude. I have to travel, go to Japan. Yeah. X Trials is here, or whatever that's there, and fees and all this stuff. And
you made me think of who came over in '84, but you're probably
it's a
right.
Small list, man. Yeah. I remember thinking about it and going, it's a small list.
Yeah,
So I was sitting there going, damn, we got lucky. Like it was just like. I mean, and I felt bad because Damon was the guy who should have been there. He should have been, he would have been a totally different influence on this stuff to me, especially if he kept going with it. Like, because the smooth style, he was not about hopping 100 times. He was not about robot tricks.
Yeah,
he needed to move the bike and flow, and so. I partly felt guilty for because my way in was his demise, his issue. But thing was, he knew what he was doing, and he went into dancing, and he's a freaking legendary dancer, And so he had more talent so it didn't matter to him. But at the time, I felt guilty, kind of like it was a lot of mixed emotions of like what was going on at the time when you're 17 and you know, like I had left school early. You know, I walked out of school in the 11th grade. I was like, I'm done with this. You know.
Well, what age is 11th grade?
So 11th goes up to 12th grade. You know, so
okay.
So when I was 16, I left school and I figured it out. You know, I worked it out later, but I was so all these things are changing. You're like, shit, I'm out of high school. What am I supposed to do? And like bikes kicks in, and you're like, and I remember just going, shit, is this going to be something like I could do? Like I gotta. And my parents were cool. My dad was an artist, so he was like, follow it, see what happens, you know. But I'm sitting there going, shit, I don't know if I got the chops for this, and you know, it's
you're
just
questioning
like
yourself,
yeah, you know, like this is blowing up, and where's this going? But I also knew by having a glimpse into the UK scene, I knew that even our contest in California was a micro slice of the whole scene. I was like, because you know, whenever the magazines came out in terms, you know, I don't know the timing of those, but like the Illinois guys came out, that was early '85. So I started to see more, but I knew from the UK side of it that I was like, if there's those guys out there, the rest of the US with all of our population, there's riders there. And I know at the same time, Joe Johnson was doing stuff over there that nobody heard of him yet. Mm-hmm. You know, all these dudes, Matt maybe started a little later because he was younger, but you know, I remember just sitting there going, this is going to be like a bigger pool real soon, you know, and I might not survive, like, because, you know, once sponsorship kicks in, you're like, ooh, I got to do, I got to get coverage, I got to, like, try to win contests now we're having contests. And
was you getting paid by Skyway at this point in time?
Yeah, I forget when they kicked in paying. They at the high point there was $500 a month.
Okay,
that was the going rate. Robert made more. Vander made more than that. Vander might have got 12 or 15. I think Robert was in the 800, 900 range for a while. Maybe he got more later, but and $50 from ProTech later, like in '86. So, and some photo money, you know, and show money. You know, you got some money from shows.
So that's what you was living off for this period of time.
Living at my mom's house.
Yeah,
you know? So burrito money. You know.
When you, so as you say, like when you realised how big this was, could you have ever seen the demise of like how it sort of collapsed, or did you just think this is going to go?
I thought the sport was going to keep going. I was more concerned about my own position in it, because you know, for me, my pro career, I wasn't even pro the whole time. My you know, career or whatever, it was '84 to late '87. You know, mid '84. Like if you say the career starts when those photos came out. That's summer of '80, you know, of '84. So that's a half year to, you know, '87, '86, '85, 3.5 years.
Yeah.
Like all this stuff was going on. I mean, and in that time, Dennis McCoy came into it, Matt Hoffman came into it, the AFA came into it. You know, all this stuff happened. The first magazines, AFA. So it was this whole blow up phase. But for me personally, I was more like, what's my deal? Like how am I gonna?
Where do I fit? Yeah.
Yeah. Is this sustainable? And at the time, I remember thinking, this is weird. I got sponsored. I might be the last phase of people who get sponsored without even competing. You know, like I remember thinking, shit, you're gonna have to win a contest to, especially as they started to get rolling and they moved across the country. You know, in Ohio and all this stuff. And you know, I forget one. I think it might have been Ohio where they had like 200 people in one class or something. It was nuts. Right. So like as the thing was blowing up, I didn't think the sport itself would go away, but I was like, ooh, this is
concerned for your own your own part.
Yeah, especially because like, you know, my like barometer was Dennis McCoy's first contest was in Pleasanton, right? And he had just got on Haro, first AFA contest, and we saw him blasting ramps and doing flatland. I beat him that time only because he was going so fast. We were on the super slippery, like warehouse floor, you know, ice skating type. Dennis was doing super spin tricks, and I was immediately stoked on him because he was doing stuff I like to do. Yeah. And I was just like, oh shit, look at this guy. This guy's killer, you know. And we rode with him. We obviously street rode with him, and Peter Gusson was there, and so you know, and so we you know, vibed with him. But I was like, oh, this guy's doing it, and then I think some people had moved up to pro. I think maybe Rick Allison and maybe Dave Norrie had moved up to pro mid-year. And so I was trying to get back to the 85 Europe tour. That was my big goal then. I was like, man, honestly, to myself, I was like, I got to beat Robert Peterson if I want to get on the tour, like to make sure, because we had got Scotty Freeman and Eddie Roman. And I was like, shoot, now we got 5 people.
Yeah.
And Vander had left. Vander left right after San Diego contest. So even by Pleasanton, pretty sure by Pleasanton he was riding, forget who he was riding for in Pleasanton, but
the Boss he rode for after.
It might have been Boss at that contest.
Why did he quit?
Oh,
or did he not quit?
He I think the situation was around him slagging the bike in public places.
Okay.
Fuck, I hate this thing.
What bike? What was the weird frame that he rode over here that had like the kicked back?
Yeah, that was the prototype for the Street Beat.
Oh, okay.
Yep, that was the prototype. And there's a sister bike of that at the Skyway factory that never got rid.
It's still there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, it's got no platform, but she's got that weird back end.
Yeah, it's got the triangle, the quirky.
Did you guys have any part of?
No,
of that, or is that?
that's a good point, because those in the beginning, like for us in our beginning, we didn't have anything to do with it. I remember getting to Europe. It was funny because I actually was kind of hurt. And I was kind of hiding it. I was like, I had twisted my ankle, and I hadn't rode for a couple of weeks before the tour. I was like, no, just rest it, get on a plane and deal with it over there. Like, get over to Europe.
Just get there.
Straighten it out. So I was kind of winged. And then we get off the plane, and he handed us, I think we had received the easy bars already. I think those were actually on my bike when I left. But he handed us the platform and the pegs.
Okay, yeah.
And I remember, like, I was kind of a snotty, like, little purist kid or something. I was like, what am I going to do with these? I'm going to sit here and hop? I'm not doing a bunch of goofy hops just to show off these pegs. Like, so that's why you see I don't have pegs on in those pictures, because I was like, screw pegs, whatever. And they handed us and the platform. So Peterson took the platform. He put the platform on. He put the platform on.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and so Dave had the prototype Street Beat. I was riding the TA, but with the bars at least. So
yeah,
showing enough freestyle. And so that they were kind of notorious for not checking with us, like not using our input. But I think Dave did have some input on the bike.
Okay.
I think he did maybe tell him to lengthen it or not, or something.
So who came up with the platform idea? Do you know?
The Skyway platform?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that was Ryan Stolz. He was the engineer extraordinaire right at Skyway. Okay. And yeah, they in the beginning they were making stuff before they really had a freestyle team. Because if you look at the ads, there's the ad with Eddie Sigmund on it with the platform and the pegs. And that was before we were on. They didn't have us to shoot those ads yet.
I can't remember. Is that the one where the guy's just standing on his back wheel pointing?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. That was the ad that came out right before we got on. And it happened again. I forget what it was. There were some other things where it was like, here you go, use this.
Yeah. Like
the Spin Master was like that, which I got used to. And
the Spin Master I didn't think was so bad.
Yeah, I used it. I was like master tuner of that thing. I had it down. I had that thing dialed with the graphite powder to lubricate it and keep the stem off the top so it doesn't flare it. Like there were these little tricks to it. Yeah. Swap out the one bolt for a lock bolt or something. There were some other things but that thing didn't affect my tricks negatively at all. I remember people like, oh, my tufts never worked. Dude, I had my tufts squeaky sharp.
Oh, the brakes were good on them.
Yeah, I totally had my brakes down. I mean, okay, if we did those shows in dirt, that was a different story. But I remember with MX2s and Spin Master, I was and Potts eventually Potts Bolt. I didn't complain about my brakes much at all. Like the stock Street Beats, the completes. The only thing I changed on those when I got them was I put my stem on. I had this Diamondback stem I liked, and I think I put just a little blocker thing for the bolt coming through.
Yeah.
On the fork so your feet wouldn't get messed up. But otherwise, I got used to the stock bikes, and I would ride those, and I would ride the one-piece cranks. I would just like, they're about, what do we got here? This is about 3 and 9. Yeah, we're going about 3. And, they got just roll because they were tubular, right? And I think I managed to not ever break one of those because I always thought, shit, if that thing breaks, that thing's going to chop my ankle, gouge me, right?
They used to break off like in shaft.
Right? Like it with this pokey, like. But I had them pretty down, man. I could ride them, and I was like, beep, beep, beep. Yeah, that was a good one. That's pretty played out. Let's swap these. Yeah. I did okay with those.
Was the platform, was that a big flop for them guys? I would assume it was.
I think so. Like, there were a lot of them laying around, coming around.
I never saw one on a bike other than the Skyway team guys.
Yeah. I don't know how many people rode them in the park. Like, that's one of my barometers. But, at the same time, Skyway makes a lot of stuff when when old school.
I just wonder if they got, like, burnt with that and thought we better get some freestyle guys. Like, we don't know what we're doing.
I wish I could speak to, like, how sales worked out, because you know how that goes. They make them, if they make them for $4 and sell them for $60, they don't really need to sell even half of them to make, you know what I mean? So, like, I don't know how it did for them in terms of a moneymaker. I know they had leftovers, but they had leftover 85 street beats. They sold out a bunch of unpainted that they found in a container out in the back. Once old school started kicking off, they're
really? They found
pop this container open and see what's in here and dig. And they're like, does anybody want tough pedals? These are junk. Like these are freaking. Haven't been useful for the 40 years.
Since the inception.
Yeah, DX pedals killed these. They were like, and then people started scooping them up in the old school market. So they're, well, shit. What else do we have back here? And I'm sure some platforms went out, but they had a lot of street beats, and and that was the '85 version.
So that was the good version.
Yeah. And I'll say U.S. made, but I don't know if they were welded where they were welded. That gets kind of pissy on the boards and stuff. But I'm going to say the U.S. version, with the teardrop tube. And
I assume that was the U.S. The TA was U.S., right?
Yeah. But like, there's talk about where it was welded, or Pete, some were welded here, and I can't speak to that. It's like I worked there for a little bit. I didn't know all those level of details.
All the intricacies.
Yeah, I call it a US made frame, but I don't know if someone can prove me wrong.
Well, they were definitely better than the one that came later. So.
Yeah. Well, the TA was a legit frame. I know a few people, including Hugo, that put some stress on those bikes and didn't break the forks. I mean, Matt destroyed plenty of them, but before that level of riding, I know people that were not smooth riders. Yeah. That were standing by TAs, and that had ridden through a lot of race bikes before that.
Yeah.
And jumpers, people jumping this guy. I know this guy, Tommy La Jolla, was like total unknown jumper that did crazy shit back then, like in 83, 84. He was doing all these wicked, he was doing things that looked like Chad Harrington or something.
Yeah.
Right, like all these cross-handed.
Tweaks,
Yeah, and just up single jump to flat back then, but crazy ass variations, and he broke a lot of stuff, and he said it took a while to break a TA fork back then, and even Hugo, like these guys would have probably chosen that bike unsponsored, like, so the TA definitely had a place in freestyle, even though it was a racing bike. It was the ramp bike of choice for I mean, I know like Eddie Roman rode the street beat, but he was also an all-arounder. He did flat and ramps, and street. So, but the guys who were pure ramp loved the TA.
Yeah. Because I think Vander was on the TA at the Joe's Jam.
Yeah.
Okay, that's that picture. Right. He was on the TA.
Yeah. So even he used it as his ramp bike. Once street beats came out, he was like, "Nah, street beats too short for me for a ramp bike." So the TA XL was the answer for those guys. And the thing was, even the forks, like if you look at them, they look all skinny and everything and narrowed out, but they were heat treated, so that was a big thing. And I think the thing about the TA, I mean, my little theory was that they struck the right balance of like having the weight the flex distributed. Maybe the bike was a little flexy, but maybe that's what helped it.
Yeah, maybe that's helped it long life a bit.
Yeah, because it's like if you have a really rigid point, that's where it's gonna break right after that, right? Like on the front, on the gussets too. If you put the gusset there, it breaks right under the gusset. So I think they got something right there, maybe by accident, or maybe I forget if they heat treated the frames, but the forks were surprisingly strong. For the time.
For the time. Yeah. What can you remember? Did you go to the Joe's ramp jam?
I did. Yeah, I got broke off at Joe's in practice. I had no ramp experience, and I thought, okay, well, I'll see if I can enter. And I did. I just rode, and I had a coaster brake, so that was a little sketchy.
Yeah.
I fell and put my elbow into my kidney. And I went under Joe's, and I'm like, oh fuck, I'm pissing brown. I'm like, what oh shit, I was like, oh, I'm like, oh, and I didn't want to not see the contest. I was like, all right, we'll go to the hospital, but like after the contest, right? Like, so if you look at those pictures, I'm in the background, kind of sitting on the ramp, rolled over. But I was stoked to watch the contest, and it was shit. It was
yeah, that looked insane. Yeah, I remember seeing the footage or the pictures in the mags, and that was like another for me. That was new chapter just opened right there. Like, and that was what Joe Lopes' ramp.
Joe Lopes, yeah. Yeah, and it's interesting because I'm pretty sure this is true that Joe Lopes' ramp was the site of the first skateboard pro half pipe contest and the site of the first BMX half pipe pro BMX half pipe contest.
Okay, but maybe in the first half pipe contest
for BMX.
Possibly,
period. Yeah, it could be.
Because after that, suddenly it was about a half pipe now. It slowly went on to half pipe. Yeah,
once the parks went away, it had to become. Yeah. And once the parks went away, and especially once the AFA went away, it had to turn into half pices.
Yeah,
there were no more
a few years
parks.
After.
Yeah. So that was kind of like warm up, and it was funny when at that contest, like, pictures are one thing, but there's not much video from it, right? Like I don't think I know of any video.
No, I've not seen any.
So in pictures, you could roll in the half pipe and get a killer air for Bob Osbourne and shoot back out, right? But in the contest, you got to hit all the walls and you got to channel air it.
Yeah.
And so in that, like the guys that were there could all do that, like Dominguez, Fiola, Blyther, Hugo. Vander rode a coaster, so he had a little harder time. He did it, but he didn't. The two guys who had the flow down were Brian Blyther and Richard Anderson, a local guy there. I thought for sure Richard Anderson was going to become in that same caliber. Yeah, he's going to be duking it out with those guys because in that ramp, it was a really tight ramp. There's not much flat bottom. If you watch video, you would see the Blyther style with the smooth was working on that ramp, but Anderson, he had that shit down. He was just like, he could out.
He got a photo, right?
Yeah.
I think I remember Richie Anderson,
Yeah, and just like Blyther, like his variations didn't look as flashy as Fiola's. Fiola's one-hander, one-footers were epic. Then the top side, bottom, perfect. Like he had that down. There were different things. Dominguez look backs, dialed. And I have a great photo of that Bryce Knights took. That has Bob Osbourne in the bottom of the ramp, shooting Dominguez doing a look back over the channel, and you're just like, man, Dominguez was the man, But in terms of the flow, it was all Blyther and the other and
Richie Anderson.
Yeah, and he, and I'm talking about like alley-oop channel airs to,
That's really advanced for 84. That was alley-oop airs really far forward. Yeah. Where was he from?
From right there. That's the thing. That was his home ramp, so he had a little advantage.
And what was that skate scene for that ramp was big, a big skate scene. I'm taking it.
Yeah, I mean, big in terms of like it's a local ramp, like.
And that was near you guys, was it, or was it further down?
It was near Vander. It was in the East Bay. So
so it was up north though, yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, it was across the bay and down a little bit, So, for me, about a 40-minute drive, 35 minthink
Okay, so not far.
But for Vander, it was 5 minutes. He was right over there. Hayward. I think Joe lived in Hayward and Vander lived in God, why am I brain cramping? San Leandro. So like the next town
kind
of thing. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, Joe's ramp was definitely, he was known for barbecuing, you know, so like,
I remember the graphic,
yeah, so I didn't hang out there myself, but I knew I knew everybody in the skate scene because they all knew my brother. My brother would have been an OG at that point, right? Being a 70s skater in 84, you were totally an OG. My brother entered his first contest probably in 77 or 6 or something, you know, so I automatically, you know, oh, you're Ray's brother.
Yeah,
you know, a lot of that happened, right? So it's not like I hung out there a lot or was a total local, but no, Joe was Joe was a curb dog. Joe Lopes for sure.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah, Joe Lopes was for sure a curb dog. If we did a memorial shirt, it would be Vander and Joey on there with their you know, dates and everything. Yeah, him and Vander were tight. They were definitely tight, and. Joey I think he did do some of our shows with us. There were these curb dog shows that Vander, I mean, another case of Vander just leading the charge was, you know, he was 19 or 20 at the time, and he had this way of like, just like Wilkerson has the same thing where you get people stoked and they'll help you do your thing. Like, dude, we're going to do a 2-hip street contest. So can you bring the PA? Yeah, dude, I got the PA covered. And, yeah, you know, and everybody puts in, but there's one guy, ringleader guy. Vander did the same thing, and he had, I want to say he's probably 20 by this time, maybe 21, but he had got some older dudes to he made a wooden half pipe, no skate light or anything, totally, you know, splinter ramp, you know, like with decks that was portable. And so like we were doing half pipe shows. Curb dog shows became half pipe shows, and I think Joey did those. And I remember it was at like Dublin Cyclery was one. We have some of the posters still, but we had little half pipes. It was a small half pipe,
of course.
But yeah, so we had skate half pipe going on. It was kind of like he was trying to be Vans, like But you know, he got someone to do that, and we, you know, all Vander's hustle. He got my brother to buy this like crazy mail truck, like. Totally sketchy, like death trap. I remember looking through the floorboards at the ground going by on the freeway, like, oh, fuck, what the hell? You know, you step through that and you're just going to, you know, like...
Flintstone.
Yeah, like the brakes. I remember him pumping the brakes because the brakes weren't working. He's like, fuck, I got to pump these brakes. We're like, dude, you know, no seatbelts, of course, and super sketchy. And Vander, like, spray-painted curb dogs on the side. It was just the shantiest. But he had that. I forget if he ever towed the ramp with that. But you know, it's just that was Vander's thing. He would get every pump and go, yeah, okay, dude, I'll make some shirts. I'll do this, you know. And so he had all this stuff going at the time, and he had this it's like he made a resume type thing, you know, and it was a fold out black and white, you know, inside. It's like it has him on the front, and he's got this look on his face, like all like this, and he's Skyway and his bike, and it's all Dave Vanderspek, model, BMX pro, stuntman. He had never done stunts, he had never done, you know. And then you go on the inside, and there's some stuff, and he's doing the wedge ramp outside there and doing some things. And then over here, they show him. I think he's bunny hopping people, but he's all performed 10-car jump or something, and I'm all. Dude, I've never seen you jump 1 car. I'm sure you can, but like 10-car jump, are you going to do that? He's all, if they pay me, I'll do it. And I'm like, nah, he probably won't. You know? Like, I mean, he was always like putting out more, you know. I'm just sitting there going, dude, you're going to jump 10 cars.
Building the hype.
Yeah, totally. And he never had to jump 10 cars. I don't think he ever got called out to jump any cars. But like, yeah, he put it on there.
Yeah.
It was funny, yeah.
So, when did Hugo come into the picture of? Was Hugo with Curb Dogs, right?
He wasn't. He had his own team before we did. Yeah, that's the funny thing. It's kind of like Curb Dogs is a NorCal loose kind of thing. Like it's definitely not like exclusive your.
Yeah.
Like it's sort of a NorCal repping thing, and it's not like, don't wear the colors, man. Are you in?
I just always assumed he was, like from the association.
Yeah, that's the thing. He totally is, by heart. He's absolutely the freaking embodiment of what we want to be, like, you know, be proud to have you kind of a situation. But he came around, I think I met him maybe even before Damon or Vander. It's funny you mention that, because he came up one time with it's hard to figure out the timing of that. Like, was he before? Like, so the guys that came in from out of town were like Hugo, Robert Peterson. I'd say Rick, but Rick had moved to San Francisco, so he was really, we all considered him a local guy. And then Vander and Damon came from across. But I feel like Hugo was really early. He, at least in terms of coming up, he came up with his boys from San Jose, which San Jose is maybe an hour and a half away, kind of thing, hour. And they were the NorCal trick team ahead of us. They were formed before the Curb Box. Okay. Yeah, they were formed before too. NorCal trick team, easily first trick team up there. And they ripped. They did jump cars. I remember there was one where they jumped one of the dirt jumps long ways over the Toyota truck. Oh wow! Like he jumped it long ways on the dirt to flat or something. Nuts. Like that's on video. It's on a news segment. But yeah, Hugo and his boys came up, and I remember that being a really fun day. Like I think that was the first time we did like a bike pile, like at a pizza place.
Yeah.
And his buddy, I forget which guy it was, what the guy's name was, but I remember his buddy could just table off a curb, and I was like, oh shit, that looks fun, dude. Like after that day, I was just, and so like the best part with them is they were rad dirt jumpers, right? So we took them to all the jumps, and they were shredding. I remember Hugo took a line on something none of us had seen. Nobody had ever took this line. We had this big lump. It was just a lump of dirt, and we had tried to make some front and back sides to it were sort of sketchy, and he did like a transfer thing or something. I remember just going, whoa, dude, won't that jump to the other side? Like, shit, that's an idea. Like Hugo was on a level.
Yeah, he was an innovator. Yeah, you can tell that now. Like, over here, he maybe because of the pictures he got first were mostly crashes. Yeah. So all the people that I knew that were quite well known, Hugo was just known as like a hucker, he just slapped and that was it. But then like when you look at the footage now and the stuff that even in the mags, like he was totally ahead of almost everyone. Like he was 360 in the fence, doing the wall ride on the fence. Like, and no one had done a wall ride. Yeah. But he's doing it out of the bowl back into, bank, but like it's still a gap and it's still like a small tranny, like when you look at that now, like to think that no one had done a wall ride before that, that's fucking mind blowing. Yeah, and he definitely did. And
I
see a video where he's like alley-oop freeing off a quarter pipe as well, on the high or on the roof. Was it onto a roof? Maybe
He did it onto a roof for sure.
I've seen a video where I think you might put it together where he alley-oops off the side onto the
Yep, he did that, and he did. Trying to think, and the thing was, he learned no-footed can-cans back then. He had a trick, dictionary of tricks, look backs, X-ups, whatever. He did that one-hand look back was a kind of Hugo style. But what was the other thing that came to mind? He like you said, the fence. There was one thing that never got published that Gonzales, his brother, told me. He said the night before that pipeline contest where he did the nose in crash. Yeah. Like they said, he just overamped that. They said he was doing that like whatever, the day before. The day before, he was doing downside foot plants on the back fence. The one that you saw did the step outside. If he would have made that in, you would have done that. Yeah, I don't know if they would have at least got it on video. At least an attempt. Like he was doing downside foot plants, and he had done a couple of them. So that was one thing that never got.
Was that 84 or 85?
I think it was 85. I want to say it was like 85 finals or something like that. But yeah, I mean, no, he was totally innovating. He crashed, okay, that's admitted, but he didn't always crash. Everything wasn't a huck. He could do. There's a good picture of him. Forget if it's Austin, Texas, or where it was. I forget who posted it, but someone posted a picture of him, full on top side hand, bottom side foot. Nice side picture, blasting 8 or so off a quarter, full on extended, just like Eddie would do them, just straight up, straight down. Stylish air, like just as stylish as Eddie's. Yeah, but Hugo is definitely an innovator, man. He undeniable, like place in it. And the thing is too, I think the other thing about him is I think he's one of the first 4 competing pros. Right, Bob Harrow. I don't know if he ever competed as a pro, who competed, the first competing pro contests, where were they? I would say they were those skate park contests, and I think, by my understanding, I think the early contests didn't have pros, like the first Del Mars or the ones that, like Don Phipps documented a lot of that really well. I think if you go through it, I could be wrong, but I believe the first 4 pros were Eddie Fiola, Mike Dominguez, Brian Deem, and Hugo Gonzales.
Oh, I didn't know. Yeah.
That's my understanding, as I know. Blyther was younger, and he was running expert. Below, yeah, he was doing expert. So that's pretty cool to be hanging with those guys in their own land. Hugo's parks were gone, so he didn't even have a park to practice on. Him and Vander and those guys, they would go down, like, I don't know if they left a week ahead of time even. They would go down there and ride a couple days and compete against the best in their own park. So, Hugo deserves
I think
a little slack on top of it.
He's a bit overlooked now, like, if anything. He doesn't pop up as much as the other guys, and to consider he did stuff that was not done. Yeah. He invented stuff, basically.
Yeah, even that foot plant, the foot plant picture, like that first BMX Action where he's on.
Oh, yeah.
That's a pretty killer cover. And I don't remember Mike or Eddie doing those downside foot plants on anything. I don't know, maybe they did, but, and I'm not saying, like, I'm not putting those guys down. They're obviously, nothing I would say would diminish them, but I'm saying he was hanging with those guys.
Yeah.
And they all were they all deserved to be in the pro class.
Yeah.
But Brian Deem's the guy that I'd like to see, like, what was his deal? Because he seemed to be one of the early,
he was gone early, wasn't he?
Yeah, he dipped out pretty quick right after.
There's that one picture of him, like, blasting that big air.
Yeah.
I think is it Whittier, maybe?
I don't
He's
know.
doing like a big air, like, for the time. And
bigger
it's
than kind of a look backish kind of.
Yeah.
But like those early guys, like Fred Becker and those guys. What was the other guy? I forget. But I don't think those guys got to compete as pros. I think they were out before it actually paid money.
Jeff Watson was even early.
Yeah,
wasn't he?
Even early. He may not have even competed ever. Yeah, he's so early. That guy, he's my vote for the Hall of Fame.
And he was from down south, though, Jeff Watson.
Yeah,
okay.
I think so. Yeah, his daughter came to one of Don Phipps's release parties. It was cool, because he's not alive.
No, I heard.
He's gone. So,
but he was at the spearhead, wasn't he?
Totally. Him getting 4 feet out or whatever out at Del Mar or wherever he was, pipeline getting out, like way up in the. Dude. Yeah.
I noticed in some of the pictures his feet are different ways around as well. Did you notice that?
No, really.
Some of it's goofy and some of it's regular. Yeah.
See, that's probably an example of him just figuring it out. Like, he's figuring it out, but he's getting out. Like, solid air's out of big concrete. Like, I mean, that, I don't know. You got to wonder, who did he ride with and what level, because for me, it's like you always got to have people to, like,
bounce off,
Yeah. And
skate park looked empty when he was riding it as well.
Yeah. Yeah. No, to me, that dude, and I saw some of him, like, it's funny, I went looking through my brother's skateboarders a while back, like a long time back, really long now. And I remember I was like, man, I know there's BMX in here, and I know he had it into Action now too, so it's like Bob on the cover and there's stuff, and I remember catching a couple of the Jeff Watson ones I didn't expect. I was like, whoa, look at this. Like, dude, like, that's nuts. Like, and even back to, like, these guys on Stingrays carving bowls. And I was trying to build the case about bikes and skate parks, right? Like, we did this BMX Riders org thing for a while, trying to advocate for bikes and skate parks. We were getting shut out all over. And I was like, yeah, man, look at that, dude. 1975. These kids are on Stingrays riding these bowls. Dude, don't tell me we weren't there. We didn't have as many people, but we were there. Look at that. And then the Palferman thing came out, him riding the dog bowl, whatever, with all those guys, And I remember the things stacking up, like, on our favor. I'm like, yeah, dude, we were going in there. And even Pipeline, I think some of the stories about Pipeline, like from Bill Batchelor, were that bike revenue helps keep it around.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Right. So, like, there's a lot of history there where I'm like, whatever, dude. Because I have friends who are core skaters that would say shit to me like, it's a skate park. Back then, it's chill right now. I don't know where I ride. I guess it's chill, I should say. But you know, like I think Venice Park is probably not chill.
Yeah.
But yeah, I remember looking back through those old magazines and just going, dang, this dude Jeff Watson is something else. Just in these pictures, you're like, there's people getting there. This dude's getting 4 feet out. Like, no way. I didn't expect to find this. Like,
yeah, big jump. From the other guys. Yeah.
Yeah. And somebody said it that way though too. I forget who that was I was talking to, but somebody who was there back then. Maybe Steve Peralta. He's the other guy I was thinking of. Steve, like early guys, and they were saying, well, he was. Oh no, it was probably in Dom's book. It was probably quotes out of Dom's book, but they're talking about, you know, he wasn't. It wasn't that he was unsmooth or landing this. He was figuring it out. You know, with like nobody.
That to me that doesn't matter.
Yeah.
How can you, like, if you're doing something that's been basically deemed as impossible, like not possible, you're doing it. It doesn't matter where you land it. You land completely on the flat. You can work your way back up. Like you've done that act now. It's someone else may be able to figure it out a bit better, but you've broken.
You got out.
You've broken the mold. Like,
it's just like the 540 thing. Remember, everybody says, "Who invented the 540? Woody invented it under coaching or whatever." No, the first appearance of the 540 was Mike Dominguez in the Diamondback ad, because I remember that was one of those times when
This is a debated subject around these parts.
that was where I went. I mean, that was the release of it.
I could show you another one, which
is there
around the same time, which is not Mike Dominguez. That's around the same height. Yeah.
Who is it?
Eric Steele.
Eric Steele. Yeah. Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I interviewed Eric and we talked about this, and he was saying, who knows what was, you know?
Yeah.
You don't know. Stuff was being done at the same time. People had. Yeah. It was like I don't know. Is it called a hive mind or whatever? Where someone's doing something over here, this guy's doing it over here.
Oh, and that's totally believable, because in our flatline world at Golden Gate Park, go ask Mark Eaton or you know, Kevin Jones about Aaron Dole, and they'll tell you there were at least a trick or two that they co-invented. You know, they parallel evolution like this. Yeah. You know, so I totally believe it. I remember hearing about Eric Steele, even from way over there with a limited feed. I remember like hearing about him and other people.
He was similar vein as Hugo. Everyone thought he was just a hooker, but he was basically reinventing it.
Trying to do new stuff. Yeah. And that's the thing, because there's time, you spend time trying to be smooth, but then there's the innovators doing different. And, you know, even in flatland stuff, it was like, I remember trying to be like a rounded rider, and then like there's these guys over here starting the scuffing stuff, and I'm like, oh wait, I'm still trying to keep these tricks down. And they're not trying to do the whole thing, but they're innovating, you know, which is obviously more valuable to the overall progression, right? But but those it's like the, you know, in that same conversation, like Jeff Watson is the first guy I saw getting out. And I'm talking about, you know, that's my own perspective. I'm not trying to say this is how the sport went. Yeah. But I'm just saying from my awareness, you know, from my like starting to believe that you can get out on a bike, you know, there it was. Shit, that's the first thing I'm seeing in these. Yeah. You know, along this time right here.
He's not just doing a jump. He's coming back in like.
Yeah. And I scanned all that stuff like that I found, so I put it up on my website a long time ago. And it's pretty early stuff, and they you know, so anyway, he was the star of that dig. The other funny thing was Fred Blood. There was an article about roller skating, and you know, everybody knew Fred Blood was a roller skater, right? You know, we all know that, but this article was about like, ooh, the hot thing going on, roller skating is also airing, you know, they're showing this stuff, and they talk about, I think it was 3 different guys, and they're, oh, this is, and so-and-so does this, blah, blah, blah. They do a description, next guy. And then when they get to Fred Blood, they're all, but the real guy, you know, they saved him for laugh, but he's light years ahead. And they're like, oh, shit, Fred Blood was it, you know, like, I mean, you know, he gets razzed for his flatline, you know, from all of a sudden being a pro and everything. But I was like, damn, Fred was like the guy. He wasn't just a roller skater. They wrote him up like he was changing the world. I
watched a roller skate run of his on YouTube, actually. I was kind of like, nah, I wasn't really taking it. I was like, these are just skateboard tricks with no skateboard. Like, because he was even pretending to do rock and rolls and stuff. I was like,
you can't drop the board.
Yeah, that's exactly, yeah.
Right, you can roll.
It was impressive, but I was like, I was looking upon it with pessimistic eyes, I guess.
Yeah.
And I was like, nah, I'm not taking this. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it was never my thing either. Like, I can't roller skate anyway, so what? But it was pretty funny to see Fred Blood in there. It was a skateboarder Action now or something, you know. But yeah, there's a lot of pieces of all that history that need to get put together. Dom Phipps did a lot though. His books.
Yeah, he dug quite nicely into some of them. Yeah, good research. Yeah.
Yeah, and I like the way he did it. I like the way, you know, it might be repetitive at times, but I like the way he has the actual people speaking out of their words, not edited for, you know, and so you get to hear, you know, I don't know, Fred Becker or any of those guys, you get to hear them say what they said, you know.
On the 540 thing, what about Dominguez on the pipeline?
Oh,
so Fiola and Dominguez were doing it in the pipeline, but it was and it was kind of over hip, but it was kind of like, because there's a guy over here called Marco Lara who did it in '84.
See, I don't know. The pipeline one to me was kind of more of an alley-oop, as I remember, but I don't know. Maybe.
No, they went off like the, you know, like it bends around.
Yeah, like I know what you're talking about. They
went off the hip, kind of. Him and Fiola were doing it. That was '85.
I don't recall it being out there.
There's a picture of it, and
is it out or is it an angle? Is it?
It was, yeah.
It's just an hour.
Dominguez's one was not just, it was a foot, at least.
Yeah, so maybe technically, but the Diamondback ad, just look at it.
Oh, yeah, no.
Fucking, you know, I just remember staring at that going, dude.
That changed.
3 or 4 feet out. Like,
the world changed when that came, like.
Yeah, that to me was like a thing.
Yeah.
And I was only I was only subscribed to Freestyle, so I don't know what came out in Plus or.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes those guys were dropping.
No, that was the game changer of like, so people could do air variations, whatever, like almost as high as they could air, but no one could do a 540 over 4 or 5 foot at that point. And Eric and Mike Dominguez were.
I'd like to see the Eric Still one too. I've always dug the UK.
You can see like the strain in it, like it's good.
Yeah, they Yeah, it's pretty crazy how all this stuff developed.
But what about like so if I heard you say you didn't like once you've done 200 front ops, like over front ops. Do you think that applies to like spinning around on your bike in the air as well? Or?
It's somewhat, but
I know there's a risk to it, but like
each tail whip is progressively harder. That's what's different.
Yeah.
On 100 tail hops, on 100 back hops, okay. You know, it's like you have to group them in 50 at a time because the first 50 are just as easy as each other. But you're starting to get tired maybe after another 50, and your foot hurts here. You know, but on the tail whip air, you just got to go higher and higher and higher and have bigger and bigger balls and bigger. You know what I mean? Like 5 of them. So I wouldn't dismiss it the same thing. It doesn't. I like big and long. Like I want to see a huge transfer blast. And a double maybe. I maybe lose
because it's not. You don't have to really go high. You just have to figure a way to spin the bike around faster.
Yeah.
Because like we think when a towel was invented, you had to do it 2 or 3 feet.
Yeah.
And then like now, probably people can do triples 2 feet out. So. They figure out a way to spin round more. Yeah,
once you max that out, then it's high. You know, it's.
I equate that to be very similar. Like, kind of pointless doing 6 tail whips.
But it's kind of like there will be a limitation. It'll be at least limited by how long you're in the air, right?
Yeah. Well, unless you've figured out some way that, or you've changed your bike to some degree that you can spin it again, like.
Yeah. But like for back hops though, the thing with back hops is you're going to sit there for 4 hours. Like how are you going to watch somebody do back hops for 4 hours? Like Jesus, really? I'll go do a bunch of back hops in front and make you watch. You know what I mean? Like that would suck. Like let's sit here and see me back hop for you. You know.
I just think that whenever things get too much, it's finished. You know.
Yeah, no, I agree. There is a point where. Just do a different trick. And I have to admit, like, I don't want to be a hater, but everything with a whip in it after a while gets old. Like if I'm judging a contest, like the Olympics, I dug it, right? Like I showed, like so there were some family members that want to watch it with me. They're, we want to watch it with you because they want with commentary and stuff. And I was blown away by the women. First of all, I hadn't kept up with their scene, and I was like, so that was a mind blower to me, and this and that. And I had seen, what's the guy's name that won the Australian?
I don't know. I didn't watch it. I don't know about it.
Logan Martin.
Yeah. Logan Martin. I had seen Logan Martin. I remember seeing his videos and thinking, this guy has to be a threat at the Olympics. I didn't know everybody else, and the guy was dialed. He did bangers, left and right. But I was also like, overall, I was like, man, I kind of miss the fakie. I miss some stalls. Like I would like to see a big ass Fufanu or a big ass Asado nose pick type thing. Like I miss the tech guys. Like Asado was badass. I remember I was sort of out of it for a while. When I came back in, I remember he was kind of like peaking and doing some crazy shit. And God, who's the other guy that rode for GT at the Rob Nolly? I remember watching Rob Nolly, totally dialed tech.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Part of me was like, I always felt like a rounded rider made a difference, like doing different kinds of stuff. Like, even going both ways. I remember Fiola starting to go both ways.
Yeah.
That's the consummate rider, man. You can do it both ways. Dial, and because my brother doing skate tricks, they were doing that. Like and I'm talking about just early freestyle tricks, like doing 360s. He was into 360s. It's like he could do them one-footed. He could do them, double-footed nose. Like they had all kinds of different variations. But doing things both ways was totally a thing in skating.
Yeah.
I think, to be fair, Logan Martin does do pretty much that ridiculous stuff both ways. I'm pretty sure will tail whip both ways, but it just doesn't seem to have any soul, is it?
It's mechanical.
Well, I think the contest formats
They
don't encourage you to do a rounded thing.
Yeah, they put you in that box.
Why would you do a Fufanu when you can do another triple over a transfer, right? I'm not sliding the guys.
Yeah.
I just would like to see them allowed to show their whole bag of tricks. You know what I'm saying?
I think that's that way of riding has become that way of riding though as well. So they just do very much that sort of that ride.
And the hucking trick. I want to see the dude jump out into the stands.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I want to see that shit again, like where people just do unexpected stuff and just,
get outlandish, I doubt you'd ever see that.
Big old Dave Volker transfer,
I think it's just the way it's scored, isn't it? They know that create points the more you do those.
Yeah, I mean, we have coaches now, right? We have coaches in BMX.
So the funny thing is, though, if somebody did that, like launched into the stands or something, that would be the breakout of the Olympics. It'd be like, fuck, he wouldn't have probably won any money or a medal. But
it would have kept it real, though, right?
And it would be history. There's your history. You've made it,
Yeah. But that's the thing. We're getting into, we used to joke about, BMX is going to get in the Olympics, and you're going to have, like compulsories. You got to do some front hops. You got to do some back hops. I remember thinking like that, God, that'll be boring.
Yeah.
Don't make them do compulsories. And it's like, I feel like, like I said, I'm bitching about the format, not the riders. Those dudes are freaking superhuman, right? But I want the formats to loosen up to allow them, and maybe it's even the arena, setup, even the ramp setup. Maybe put some kooky stuff in there, like skate things. They make it kooky stuff.
Yeah, a bit of a spectacle.
Talking about that, compulsories. Did the US comps ever have compulsories on flat?
I don't remember, but they did have. I was joking about it at the thing this weekend. I was judging.
We did in the UK.
You had compulsories?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
Skateboarding had compulsories at one point.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Over here or in the US?
In the US.
Oh, wow.
I can't remember what I was watching, but they were talking about
UK BMX, we had compulsories.
Oh, Lord. That's frightening to me, man. That's like, And they do it in like ice skating. I always watched Olympics with my dad. He was a little star gymnast in high school, and so we watched that with his commentary. And he would always tell me like, "Oh yeah, you got to get into this and that and this, like all those routines." There's like things you have to include in your routine, compulsories, you know, they don't go out there and do it like, now you're doing this. And, you know, but
you've got to work them in.
Okay,
yeah.
Gymnastics is the same.
Yeah. And so I was well aware that this could be a format. Like if we get to the Olympics, we might have compulsories. I'm like going.
But then, if the compulsories are kind of there, but not really spoken of, aren't they?
That's the thing, yeah.
It's like they are compulsories.
Yeah.
You just no one's told you to do them. You do it off your own back.
And you know, everybody wants to win the medal, so you know, you get strategic, and you got a coach now, right? Like I remember that was a joke, like between like on the Hoffman team, Paul De Jong, right? The De Jongs from
Holland,
and Paul, I guess, works in the UCI right now. But I remember it was a funny thing that Bart and Paul had a Hoffman jersey that said coach on it. It was like the running joke. I'm the coach. Well, yeah, we have coaches now, right? Like, you know, so the coaches are going to strategize. What do you think the scores are for a triple flip? You know, what's a 360 backflip worth? What's a 720 or a 1080 worth? You know, and they might sit there. I don't know. You know, I'm just speculating.
Yeah.
The strategic thing to do. You know, coaches are going to get strategic. I heard Bestwick had Charlotte Withington keep that trick in her back pocket.
Yeah.
Right. You know, smart move. You want to win. You're a coach. Of course, you should do that. That was smart. You know, so it's.
But I think that's a good idea, though. Even if you're riding a contest and you've got a trick that no one is expecting,
right? You don't
want to do it in your first run.
Yeah, you're not going to do it in practice.
Yeah.
But so, you know, all that's an example of like a smart strategy plays its part, right? Like that was obviously a smart move, right? So other things are going to come into strategy like that. Or, I mean, they're already there like that. I'm sure they're not sitting there going, it'd be cool, it would round out your run well if you did a toothpick up on here or something, or if you did a, you know.
No, it's literally broken down into numbers.
They're like for the time allotted. You know, it doesn't pay to do anything rolling backwards.
Yeah,
that's a speed
waste of time. Yeah.
Why do you want to lose speed in a run, right? So I don't know. It's interesting, like how this stuff, you know, is coming about. I that's my dig on it anyway. I loved it. I loved seeing it. I loved seeing our riders get, you know, the respect they deserve, and especially the women though. I was embarrassed that I hadn't followed them. I'm like, damn, that's your fault, dude. You should pay attention. The women were blasting. So
85 Skyway Tour, no Vanderspek. Yeah. So you came in 85 as well?
No, 84. Me and Vanner and Peterson.
You came back in 86. So 85.
Oh, came here, yeah. I came 84, 86 to the UK.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because Hugo came in 85.
Yeah.
That's why I assumed you came as well. Huh?
Yeah, that's what's so like in my thing I was trying to get, you know, get over here in 85, and I beat Peterson twice.
Okay.
I still didn't get to go. And I was
right. Oh, you pissed,
super bummed. Yeah, I was super bummed.
I assumed you was there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I remember now, Scotty Freeman came, Hugo came, so they only wanted to bring 3 riders.
Well, they brought Scotty, Hugo, Peterson, and Eddie Roman.
Oh, Eddie Roman
not
came
me.
as well.
Not me. And I was like, right, that sucks, dude. Like, you know.
What did they do? Demos?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there's pictures of Eddie Roman at Southsea, I think, but I don't think I ever saw him in any mags from that trip, 85. I see him from 86.
85, I thought. I'm pretty sure.
Oh, maybe he was a picture at Mons, possibly.
Or did Eddie just go to a contest? Maybe
he came for one of the whole shots one year.
I kind of feel like what's in my mind is there's a picture that was taken of them. They went to go see Benny Hill.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a picture of Benny Hill, and something tells me there were 4 riders, but maybe I'm thinking of 3 riders and the manager, the tour manager. God, now I'm doubting whether Eddie went. I don't know. Eddie, okay, so me, Scotty, and Eddie went in 86, that's for sure.
Okay.
So, yeah, maybe no Eddie in 85. Maybe.
Possibly.
Yeah.
The picture I showed you of Hugo at Southsea, Eddie was in the background, wasn't it?
So that was 85.
Yeah. 85, yeah, that had to be 85, yeah. Yeah, that makes sense.
So what was it, 85? What did you get up to in 85 then?
God, what was I doing? We were touring at home. We did some U.S. tour stuff, but.
And was you working at Skyway in '85?
No, I went there. It's funny, like they offered me a job. Like that's kind of a story because that was when things started to dump, and like I think it was Wilkerson. You know, he was team manager of Haro and everything, the team lead, team captain, whatever.
Yeah.
Setting up shows, everything. He was booking all the shows and full on for real job, right?
Yeah.
Not just writing. And I think they let him off by letter. You know, I think, as I recall, they sent him a letter, Haro did. You know, we don't have the budget anymore or whatever, however they said it. But, yeah, sorry. That they sent him a Dear John letter.
Oh, really?
To cut him off. Skyway, on the other hand, they sent me an offer letter. They're like, hey, do you want to come work up here? We're going to set up a mountain bike program. That was their thing. They were like, we're starting selling mountain bikes, and you know, you could work in sales. You'll be selling to a lot of the shops we visited on tour. And I was like, because I was already like, I already knew the end was near on competing. And I was like, this is silly. I'm going to just look like a fool. I'm already starting to feel like I look like a fool out here being in pro.
Yeah.
With Kevin Jones and all these guys, and turn on all these guys coming up. I'm like, they should have went pro earlier, but they just wanted to finish out the year, I guess, and see about a year-end title maybe. And so Skyway, like, as cool as they are, they offered me a job. And I was sitting there like I was already planning the end of, like, taking BMX seriously. It was an emotional thing. I was like, all right, this is it, man. You don't, money and things you love doing don't mix. And that's how I summed it up. I was like, nope, not worth it. You're gonna ride for yourself again, do whatever you want to do, which at the time was riding more street stuff.
Yeah.
I was like, I want to go back to how I did it before. I rode around the city, got to be, you know, just out and around and free, and you know, it clears your mind, all that stuff. You know what I mean? Like
you're enjoying yourself.
Therapeutic thing going on.
You get away from everything. Bro.
Yeah, all your trips, girl trips, head trips, money trips, whatever it is you have. So like, that was good for me. And I started riding at the Embarcadero more with all the skaters. Like I was the only BMX guy there. There were people that came and shot photos and blasted, you know, like Vic Murphy and Eddie Roman, I would say, shredded that place better than anybody on a bike.
Yeah.
But, you know, that was my regular spot. I was the only BMX guy there all the time with these guys. There were other guys that were in there with us here and there, but you know, that became my like sanctuary. Yeah, and it was back to roots. Like there was no thought of getting sponsored or competing. I purposely didn't compete in any street contests. I was like, nope. I went to I think the La Jolla one. I was like, no, I'm not competing. It's just going to get me frustrated again. And I'm not only, you know, I knew I'm not going to beat Dave Folker and I'm not going to beat Craig Campbell. You know, like those guys. But so you know, so right before Skyway ended, I was already shutting it down, but I had started I was going to go back to a trade school for electronics, you know, and I was like, I had already worked out the loans and student, you know, all the stuff. And then Skyway put that on the table. I was like, shit, am I going to go to school? Am I going to try to stay in the BMX industry? Like, oh shit. And I chose the BMX thing. I was like, all right, I'm going to go to Skyway then. And I get up there and I'm trying to sell mountain bikes, and they're not selling. Like,
were they making Skyway mountain bikes?
Yeah, they had like 2 models. Yeah.
Okay.
But the crazy thing was, and they set me up in this little desk in the corner, like in the front office. Like it was funny, I didn't really have a whole spot. And you know, I went up there and gave it a go. I was like, okay, I'm going to sell mountain bikes. I tried to get my thing down. Serious Rolodex, for real Rolodex, old school, you know. You know, Alabama, dialing the phone. Yeah, hey, this is Maurice from Skyway. I don't remember, we were over there and, you know, we did the show. Yeah, well, hey, you know, we got these great mountain bikes, blah, blah, blah. You know, we'll try to work my pitch and I'd get into it, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, we wonder if I could send you a couple, you know, get them out on your floor, you know, people should dig them. They really got to, you know. And then the first thing the guy said, do they have index shifting on them? Because that was a new thing, the click shifting.
Yeah.
No, but yeah, they're really great. They're two-tone. You start trying to bullshit. They're all, I can't sell anything without index shifting. Yeah, thanks. But yeah, no, send me a couple wheels. You know, I'd sell some wheels or, you know, little side deals. But I sold maybe 10 mountain bikes after going through that Rolodex.
Oh, okay.
Like tons of calls. And it was like, dude, we missed the boat on these index shifting, like that. And so I started trying to do the bike stuff, and they were cool. It wasn't working out, but I tried to fill in. I was like doing jersey. I designed the jerseys for the '88 ones, the ones that say Skyway.
Are you the grey one?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And I had designed some of the other ones before that. Actually, I did the one that I saw a picture of Carlo wearing it, the one that has the S.
Yeah,
this with the side stripes, kind of. But that I did some couple shirts and the street. There was a street thing, so I was trying to get Skyway into street. I was like, you guys make the street beat. You got Eddie Roman. Do it. Street's coming on. Let's do this. If you guys want to market. And it didn't really click. And I was kind of like, nah, I shouldn't be here. This isn't a fit. But they were like super gracious to the whole thing. They didn't fire me out. I told them, I should go back. And I set it up and I got back in school. And that was a whole life trip thing. But they were, Skyway, in terms of how other riders got treated, how other teams got cut off at the main. Yeah, I was just like, who else? Tell me who else got offered a job and I wasn't a high end rider. I was a low level, mid to low, flatline only guy. You know what I mean? No one's competing at street yet. And so it was
So you went from like 84 when like everything exploded and you was on a tour to 85. You're going to quit riding for the company.
Oh no, 87 was when.
Oh, 87.
87. Yeah.
Okay. So sorry. What happened in 85?
Sorry. How did we jump to? Yeah. So we jumped. 85 was a little bit of U.S. tour. Where else did we go? There were contests. I mean, like that for me. That was my better year for contests.
Oh, okay.
I was expert. I ran through as an expert, I think is how it went, and I got a second at one and a third at another. Dennis got first on one, and I forget, how I did in the rest of it. So 85 was
85 was still bubbling,
year. Yeah, it was definitely, and 85 was definitely more people coming in, like Dennis Langless and those guys, East Coast guys were starting to show up with sponsors. Mountain Dew sponsored them. Like you said earlier, Randy Tishman, I remember he was in there. Chris Lashua, so Marty Schlesinger came in, Mongoose built out a team. If we sat here, there's a lot of growth in 85. Seppi and Diz were on CW. So 85 was definitely a growing year for sure. It was, it was like AFA full swing that year. That was like the first full year of AFA, I'd say, because the other one, the 84 was like a half year. It started out, if I just ballpark it, it's somewhere between the summer release of the magazine. They got 2 contests in, I think is what it is. I think they got a Venice and a Huntington in, 2 contests in that year. And then the next year they got San Diego, Pleasanton, Huntington, Venice. And I'm not sure if there was another, like a final, but that to me was like the first full year of AFA contests.
That was probably, that 85 and 86 was probably their best years.
Yeah. And so I remember feeling like that was good. We got the Skyway ramp was built. So that year was the first year we got the van, the ramp. So we started doing, we kept the ramp. Robert Peterson kept the ramp at Beach Park Bicycles. So we could do a lot of like hit and run shows, like any weekend in California, we could do shows. And that year was a lot of driving, like a lot of times. I just remember being in that van all the time at night driving. And it was like this big, like 455 Ford, 455 cubic inch engine, just, hammering through like ridiculous, like fog, blasting through fog, just like stupid, like you're supposed to slow down, dude. It's foggy, kids. Whatever. We're on Highway 5 going straight, ain't shit, and luckily never hit one of those big traffic, pileups, But yeah, lots of driving, lots of LA trips, photo shoot things, going to the magazine. We showed up at the magazine a few times, and we brought the Skyway ramp to the contest, so we would have driven to those. Anywhere on those that you see that big Skyway ramp was somewhere we drove to. we did like a U.S. tour kind of thing, a partial one, I think. I forget how that went. We did a lot of like local California shows, probably more than even the U.S. tours. But yeah, that was, they were...
Who was on them? You, Hugo, Scotty, Eddie.
Yeah, and that's exactly it. 85, they grew the team. So we lost Vander. We talked about that, but we lost Vander. We had me and Peterson, and then we got Scotty and Eddie kind of at the same time. Oleg Konigs was on there too.
Okay,
he was competing as pro. But I feel like Oleg dipped out. I don't know if he went through the whole 85. I'm not. No, I remember seeing him in 86. So Oleg was competing pro. So they had me, Robert, and Oleg in pro flat. Hugo came on as our pro ramp rider. Yeah, Eddie Roman was the all-arounder. Scotty was ground, So yeah, they filled it out pretty good. And they had co-sponsored guys. I don't know if they co-sponsored the ground control trick team. So Oleg was full factory, but he was a ground control trick team guy. There was Mike Golden and Mike Perkins were getting stuff. And I'm going to guess it was 86, though, when people like Aaron Dull and Mark McKee came in as co-sponsored and then eventually full. So, yeah, they built a lot of, everything was growing, so Skyway was picking people up. And for me personally, it was a lot of shows and contests. I didn't get to do the tour, so that was a big personal bummer for me. But, I was kind of like, well, I'm just going to ride hard and see what happens.
Do your thing.
But yeah, that was definitely towards the end of that year would have been the start of head tripping on keeping up. Yeah. Because the thing was blowing up and the class was getting harder. It was getting full. I think at some time we had 20-something people in pro when there was 6 or 7 before. So it got a little dicey.
Well, who did the street beat design come directly from Skyway, or did you guys have input into that?
But I didn't get to have input in the 88. Yeah, no.
The first one.
The first one, no. I didn't. Like I said, I think Vander did give some input from on size and stuff. But yeah, it was really their design mostly.
Oh wow.
And I like what they did. I think if you looked at all the frames released 84, 85, the fact that they didn't build pegs into the thing was smart. All those side standers.
Yeah.
I mean, even on a great bike like the RL22, they had some side stander things, but you look at it now, you're like,
horrors as well.
Yeah. The Masters were the worst ones. Those things were huge, right? Mm. So they did pretty well. I think it was a good bike back then. It was a nice frame. And then and so the 85s were I say American made again. I don't know who all welded everything, but that was the true temper tubing ones. But then 86s, they started making completes in Taiwan, so that was another shifting point. People starting to go to Taiwan for their bikes. Yeah. Skyway was, Ryan Stoles was full on engineer, he engineered all those molds to make the tough wheels, which if you look at those things, they're huge, and one screw up and he's throwing away this giant piece of aluminum, right? So I think Skyway, once they started to go to Taiwan, it got a little weird for them because they were about quality, real big time, and so having to outsource to those guys because the world, the financials wouldn't work otherwise.
Yeah,
that got a little weird for them.
Can you remember that point? Did you go to see them bikes when they came out, the Taiwanese ones?
I never went to Taiwan.
I mean, no, but to Skyway when they got the deliveries of the bikes, or
I got them sent to me. But there was one thing that happened in '88, late '87, with the mountain bikes. They did a quick QC. They said pull 5 random bikes or something, just out in the warehouse. They pulled this one out. It had forks, and I swear to God, they were, I don't know what the exact measurement of a hub is. Let's say if it's supposed to be 4 inches, it had one fork out there, another extra 4 inches. How did you even get that in the box? How the hell did that thing get on the line? It was so ridiculously off. So So all of a sudden they had these headaches of like having to babysit some company that you were putting crap in there, and so that was a big shift for them, even before, like, and during those times, I remember asking Ken, I said, Ken, man, how did the Tough Wheels sell? Like, what was the peak? And I'm pretty sure what he said to me was 70,000 pair a month were going. Like the frames and the bikes were not shit to them, to be honest. Like the margins, and the other thing I said too was like when they started making the street stylers, right? In the street scene, I was like, man, Ken, what's street style? This thing's kind of hokey, man. Like I was like, what? And then he shows me like the breakdown of like, this was learning a little bit about bike business. He's like, look, here's the numbers of how they sell, and you're just going. He says like the kids come in with their parents looking for a street beat. They walk out with a street styler. The mom gets them a street style. That's how it goes. And it was a crazy lopsided number of like the low end bikes sell way more, and then the street beats are almost there just to get you
to keep the others afloat. Yeah.
Yeah, and so I was like, ooh, okay, I get it. That's business. But yeah, Tough Wheels, ridiculous. And I think the other time I remember asking how much it cost to make one, not with all the overhead involved, materials and whatever. He said it's about $2.50 or $3 a wheel. Most of it's the hub or something. It was like a ridiculous thing like that. Like, oh my God! I just remember just calculating in my head, going, "You guys are making some money right now. Like, this is nuts." And the guy who invented them, Chuck Rodman, I think just his inventor's fee was $1 per wheel.
Oh, right.
So 70,000 pair. I think it went like that. Like this is all like, I could be wrong on this, but I mean it's a crazy number. So $150,000 a month going to him, besides owning the company, besides his salary as the CEO. You know what I mean? So like during those years, they were just making money, and that was when other brands would still put Tough Wheels on there. Because there was a quick transition where they went into like, companies started to go, wait a minute, we're not going to put your wheels on. Haro did it, right? They put the Peregrines on.
OGKs or something, yeah. Was that Peregrines
or something, yeah. So they, like companies like, once Skyway had a freestyle frame, because the TA like already got them kind of warmed up, going, oh, but they didn't sell complete bikes or whatever. They kind of made it through, that slipped through, and then, but then especially once they had complete bikes, it was like, ooh, we're not doing this. And Peregrine came out, and that other company, funny as hell, because Legal Action, yeah.
Oh yeah, I remember.
Legal Action put a wheel out, white wheel on there, bright as day, graphite something, and Skyway sent him a cease and desist. Bullshit, there's no graphite in there. That wheel's white. You can't make a white wheel graphite. And so Legal Action got a legal action. It's like, funny ass story. And Skyway shut them the hell down. Like, no, dude, you just put a white wheel. You can't put any graphite in there. Like, keep it white, And they were, but yeah, they were, bikes, whatever. They were making all this money off Tough Wheels. Tough Wheels were crazy money. But obviously all that stuff started to, even before the like switch to alloys,
It was declining already.
It was, there were signs that like now you got to compete with all these other wheel makers. Yeah, okay. You're not going to be OEM for everybody, because they started out being OEM on, Mongoose did a big ass order for them when they put out a bike in like, I'm going to guess 81, 82, they put yellow Tough Wheels on crap ton of bikes.
Yeah.
So they were dicing the market, in the market a little bit. And, it's kind of bold to put out their own bikes because, do they want to be a wheel company, or are they going to try to?
You put a few people off there because they came on some of the UK brand bikes as well, had Tough Wheels on.
Yeah.
Do you know if there's any truth to the story that some of them were made here?
Oh yeah.
Oh, absolutely. It was.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah, and there was a good story there straight from Ken Coster. Was they did that. They just said, well, shipping's ridiculous. Why do we, let's just send a mold over there. So they sent one of the exact molds that had been making Tough Wheels all along. I think they had 2 molds going or something, because they had 2, something like that. Maybe they made another one for the U.S. or something, but they sent the exact mold that had a little, they had built these molds in with flip out things for the hubs and little slip out things for the the name, you know, so you just changed a little insert to make it say Skyway made in the UK, you know. Yeah. And so those ones got made in the UK. They didn't send over a riveting machine. The riveting machines were kind of goofy and big and stuff, and they kind of, I think maybe they knew that they were going to go away from riveting, but you know, that's why those UK ones have bolted hubs, right, for the coaster.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what it was. Maybe all the UK ones, the fronts were all not flanged, or maybe for the most part,
50-50 ones.
Yeah. So, but for coaster, they had to do a pin, right?
Yeah.
So all the UK coaster ones, I'm going to say, you know, let's say almost, there might be some oddballs, but you know, they had to put that kit in with the bolts.
Yeah, right? I bought one of them kits. Yeah.
Yeah, and so the thing was, they sent the molds over. Exact same thing, like what was made in the UK was absolutely the same.
Yeah.
But they said that the kids were freaking out because they said made in the UK. They're like, no, I don't trust these. I want the made in. And so they had to go into this whole thing to like try to like shore up that, no, these are the same ones. Like there was all this pushback, and it was like, no, this is making them cheaper for you guys. Like, you don't have to pay us to send them over, you know, like this is saving you guys money. Buy them, come on, you know. And I don't know why they stopped, or maybe that was the reason. But yeah, they were definitely. I have a set of orange that have
UK ones.
Yeah,
wow.
Yeah, I was looking hard for some for a bike, and that was the first set I found was orange. I was like, I'll take these, and it took me like another year to find some US ones, like clean ones.
And what about the hub where it changed to plastic instead of the like star metal thing?
I think that was all just makes it easier to make.
Okay.
Yeah, I think they just, you know, move forward with their design. I don't know if they ever had problems with the rivets breaking. You know, because there were times when the you know, you got little
collapse,
cracks
at
the riveting points. You know, there are things maybe but I think the problem was the coaster brake. They had for a long time. They still had to rivet them in. You know, for coasters. I'm a coaster rider, so you know, I was well aware and wanted them to keep them. You know,
and when like that just died a death, didn't it? That wheel, like in around '88, hardly anyone rode.
Oh yeah, I saw
it from like.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, 48s killed it easily.
Yeah,
48s came out, and the 48s, you know, they were coming on Haros and like the Red Line, those Peregrine wheels. So those things took over pretty quick, and there were already people, like I could see just in my little sampling at Golden Gate Park, all the new guys started running them. Aaron Dole was running them because he was riding for Skyway. But you know, Eric Emerson, Norman Chuck, you know, all those guys were running alloys after a while. Carl Roth, you know, it just. You know, just got to the point where you could just see it.
The riding progressed past the product, hasn't it?
Yeah, and these were just flatland guys to start with. For you know, a lot of braking issues or whatever they felt, but it went away quick. And Skyway was smart though. Before that happened, they diversified. They started doing OEM lawn and garden. You know, lawnmowers and ultralight crafts and things like that. They built this OEM market that was never going to be as big as that 70,000 pair a month, but man, it kept the lights on and kept them going. And you know that maybe Tufts went like this, you know, and kick boom, you know, this went, you know, kind of got here or something, you know. So they you know, they were a shrewd business, and you know, people used to say like, oh, why did Skyway leave BMX? Skyway was running in the same place. Same offices, same people. I mean, ridiculous. Same machines, all the way through it in the '90s, the 2000s, you know, and up until a few years ago. You know, you could go in there and you could see all the history. In Ryan Stolz's shop was all the like prototypey stuff. You go in Ken's office and he had things. Oh, those are the first graphite Tufts. Those are the first, you know, all this stuff. And you go in the back, you're like, yeah, there's those two giant machines that do the mold machines, and exact same ones from before. You go in another section, there's all these Tuff wheels hanging in the thing, all these like one-offs, and go in this other room. There's this picture of a Tuff one. That's the picture of the Tuff one in the Smithsonian. You know, like there's crazy history in that place. Like, you know, all kinds of stuff. You go Perry's office, and you see like these molds they used to do to make the mask, face mask for motorcycles, like stuff they made in the 70s, like early 70s.
So how long were they going before the Skyway Tough Wheel 2, as we know it, came out? Like, what were they making before that? Like motocross masks and stuff?
Yeah, they started, I might get some of this wrong, but they started, I think, in 63, and they started near the airport, making airport parts, so that's where the Skyway came from.
Oh, okay.
Because there was a road, because it always said Skyway, or something. So I think it might have been the road there that was called, so the Skyway came from being airplane, and then Chuck Rodman, the owner,
a company across the way called Skyway Freight.
That's Skyway Freight. Okay.
They got their name from it.
Yeah.
Because they were at the airport. That's where their factory was at.
Okay. There you go. That's the real deal. They were at. Yeah. And so Chuck Rodman, he was a machinist and a motorcycle rider, so he started to want to make motorcycle parts. And they're in Southern California where there's lots of desert, motocross stuff going on. He gets into that. He's doing motorcycle parts like chambers, like exhaust chambers and things like that, face masks and other parts and small parts, and then somewhere in there, his idea was let's make a nylon wheel. Let's try to make a mag wheel for a motorcycle out of nylon, right? And he worked all that. He's getting all the formulas and he's doing all this testing. And he's like, man, there's just too much force. The motorcycle's too strong, and this thing's not going to help. It's going to break. And then he sees these kids starting to ride motocross bicycles, And I don't know where the timing of the Moto Mag came out or some of the early mag wheels, but he was like, well, shit, I've been doing all this prototype. Maybe I can make this wheel for BMX, And so he did the Tough One like that, and got that became the first nylon wheel, and that's the thing that went to the Smithsonian because it was like in that movie The Graduate, plastics, plastics, like that's the future of back then. Plastics were the future, not the death of the earth or whatever we call it now. Like it's not in the ocean. They weren't thinking about the ocean, but so that was like a revolutionary use of plastic. Make a mag wheel and super cheap, right? Like I said, they stamped those once they got it all set up, all the formulas. Man, they stamped wheels out. It was a thing, and so he so that's where the Tough One started, and then I forget the issues with Tough Ones. I know there's old school guys, racers that can.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen one.
Yeah, they look a lot. They're just like a smaller.
I've seen a picture of it, but I've not actually seen one in real life yet.
Yeah, I don't think the material changed. I think they used the same material, but they updated. I think the big difference was brake pads. I think when the Tough Ones came out, everybody was riding coaster brakes even in race, and then they started swapping them out and putting brakes on there, and then they started to want to get. So I think even for the Tough 2, part of it was just because they needed to use handbrakes again. And so they did that, which I'm guessing had a lot to do with the hub riveting deal. They thought we need to put different hubs, so we need to I don't know. To me, that's me speculating, though. But so they went into BMX with the Tough Wheel, and they did Tough pedals before I think the Tough 2s, and they did what else? They had some other things. They had sunglasses.
I remember the sort of spacey advert that they had, at the pedals and some other stuff.
Pedals, and I'm sure I'm forgetting some stuff, but which one? The
hot seat.
Oh, the hot seat. Yeah, that was an 85, 86 thing. Yeah. But before freestyle, right, they did the Tough 2s. They did graphites. I mean, graphites was a big thing. They, the first graphites, I think it was like 81, the first graphites, something like that. And, they did, I remember Ken had a good story about that, but there's something, putting there's a pretty good story that I forget, but behind picking the Campy hub to go in the graphite, and then the gold was an accidental thing, and they thought, oh, that'll, and that became super iconic, right? A gold flange, and then they upgraded the star design of the hub, and they made the next gen still had Campy, and then they made the third one that's around 85 or 86 or something, they had third gen that was like seal bearing and a star hub, you know. But, you know, graphites were like a huge thing to people. Like that was a mystique kind of thing, you know, like, ooh, it's stiffer and it's lighter and, you know, and I mean, I remember people.
Was it?
Technically speaking, it's a little bit lighter, yeah.
Okay. The original Tough 2s had steel hubs, so when the graphites came out, they had alloys.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was the difference. It wasn't so much the wheel itself.
Right.
Mainly the hubs were lighter because they were alloy.
Yeah, and they did. It had a flip-flop hub, so that was also cool.
Okay.
You had the two for race guys, because it was still a race thing only, right? Like, yeah, and they, you know, but that was like a whole mystique thing, the graphites.
And what about the hot seat? Because that seemed to be a product that was on point at the time it came out.
That was pretty good, yeah, because that came out 86, I'm going to say.
Yeah.
I think it was 86. And
that was the seat. Like, everyone had that seat.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. That was, and it was mostly because they had Scotty. They did the hot seat and the little mini easy bars, the lower ones. And I think it was mostly because they had this young rider who was 13 or whatever, you know. And they were like, make small products for the smaller kids.
That wasn't, okay.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it was meant to be like revolutionary.
Yeah.
But yeah, they did that.
The grabber seat.
The grabber, yeah. Was that more at 88, 87 or something? I don't know. It seems
I think that was later.
87-ish.
87-ish, yeah. The grabber, that was funny with the little push-out thing.
That's what I thought you was on about earlier with the bar extender.
Oh, yeah.
I thought you was on about the seat, but yeah. I don't think I've never even seen the bar extender.
Oh, Robert
That went into production, did it?
That was Robert Peterson's Beach Park thing.
Oh, it wasn't Skyway?
Yeah, not Skyway.
Oh,
no, it was a Beach Park. Yeah. Yeah, Robert Peterson did his own side company with, you know, Beach Park, because it was Beach Park Bicycles where he worked.
All right.
So he made the bar extender. He did some pegs, which the pegs were kind of cool. They were like knurled, and his innovation was putting a hole through it so you can tighten with a screwdriver. Okay, he did, and then he did the bubble wrap pads, crossbar pad, right? Bubble wrap. And I swear to God, people went right up to him. Hey, Robert, how you doing? What's up, Robert? But yeah, he was bold enough to try to sell people bubble wrap as a.
That's hilarious.
That was totally funny. But the bar extender, I never wrote it because I do more stuff than want to. Like, I didn't want to cross up and have that thing pop out. No way. But it was a cool little, like, he was a mechanical engineer. Like Robert Peterson was. He was. I have a news segment of him. He had made a hovercraft when he was in high school. He like goes out and does this hovercraft ride out on the lake, you know, like, so he was like, yeah, he was a full-on engineer guy. And the bar extender was a neat little thing. The way when he pushed it in, it pushed this little screw head to open up this little rubber thing, and then it let it pull back, like the way, and then you push it back in.
So activated.
Yeah, it had this whole little mechanism in there that was pretty slick, like. But, you know, as a riding part, there's no way I'm going to have my bar, because, you know, pull out and hit your seat. Like,
no chance.
Yeah.
So then what, like, then we're in kind of 86, we haven't really touched upon. Like, what?
86 was like complete bikes. That was the big deal.
Complete bikes.
Yeah,
but for you, like, 86, you came on tour again.
Yeah, 86 was.
Was you doing AFA in 86?
Yeah, I did AFA contests. 86 was first year pro, I think, is what for me that would have been the big deal. Yeah, and I did it. I wish I would have not dabbed quite as much, but it was well, big things happened. So yeah, turning pro. Robert Peterson left at some point. He went to Schwinn. He got to be team captain and get a better contract out of Schwinn. So, you know, that left me a little more leeway. I'm not competing against another pro in the same team. Hugo was still there. Oh, wait a minute. Yeah, Hugo was there. And then, but I'm trying to think why he didn't go. I'm not sure why he didn't go to Europe that year. That part's a little weird to me. But I know, you know, so that on that run, it was me, Scotty, and Eddie Roman that came to Europe and the UK, and Perry Cremens was the team manager that came. And in terms of Skyway products, Complete Bikes, that was a whole different deal. They did the street scene and street styler, I believe, that year, because I know two-tone. Yeah, the two-tone came in.
Those colours, the pastel colours and stuff.
Yeah, two-tone. Yeah, so right. So color-wise, what did they do? They did purple and white, green and white, red and white, blue and gray, gray and white. So there's like 5 different. So it was an upswing for them. Likewise, they put a bunch of models out. Then they did like the street styler there was like a pink, a gray, a green, a few different colors, white. Yeah, so they had multiple lines and street scene. Was a street scene then, or maybe that was 88 only. 88, yeah. So so the lines are still expanding in terms of bikes, right? They've got more stuff going on. They're still selling frame and fork onlys as well. So they've got that. Colors of wheels was a thing certainly coming on. They put out. You'd have to check the chart for 85 to 86, but 85, I would say they came out with green and orange. Not somewhere a little after that came out with light blue and purple and pink.
Yeah,
lavender. Yeah, so
baby
blue. Yep. So they. So some colors got added to it. So it's an expanding thing for them.
Yeah.
They're still thinking like this thing's growing and we're going to keep up with it, right? Like they're putting into it. And some jersey changes. We had red, white, and blue stuff in 85 or 84 and 85 UK. I think they were still riding the red, white, and blue stuff.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, I think they rode them into 86. Yeah.
Yeah, and then we went into. I forget how the changes went. There was a here's what it was. They took the same jersey and they did pink and green, which was weird because it was like way too light against the white. It was like you look at that jersey, it doesn't show up anywhere. So they did pink and green. That didn't last too long. Then they did it was funny because I sent them these sketches of like, hey, this is going to be a possible turn. I did this S thing with these gray lines and I turned it back and it's this guy, and I had these lines kind of thing. And it was totally just a sketch. They took the sketch practically as is and printed these jerseys out and sent it. They're like, here's the new jersey. I'm like, whoa, that was just a sketch. And that wasn't like a final, And so the gray was dark, and like there were things I was like, man, we're supposed to work this design a little bit. Boom, just like they do. Like right here it goes. Here's a jersey. Send it down, and I think also our names weren't on those anymore. I think that was another thing that was kind of weird. We didn't get them personalized anymore after that, so we were just wearing a standard long sleeve shirt thing. And so in '86, pro year for me, and. I don't remember feeling good about any of those contests.
Oh, yeah.
Although the big thing was, and I think this was '86, was it was because we did a U.S. tour and we would do the tours. Let's see, when did we get Matt Hoffman? So now I'm getting weird because the Matt came in '87.
I think I thought it was '86, but maybe I think '86 Hoffman.
Late '86 he got signed, I think. But you probably wouldn't send him right into '87.
Yeah, because we picked him up. So let's see, in '86, who was on the road? I'm thinking, I'm like visioning my photo album, and so in '86 we did UK tour. So for me, busy like UK tour in Europe, and then US tour with Eddie Roman, Eddie Roman, Scotty again. But what Skyway would do is they had so many riders that they would split us up. They would run, I think in '86, they must have had Hugo as the ramp rider on the whole thing. We would go bottom part of the U.S. and then swoop up through the top and come back around. And so it was like 3 weeks one way, 3 weeks back the other way, and then I think we kind of flew or something. So I did the lower part, and then I think maybe me and Eddie did the lower part, and I forget if we had Kevin Jones by then. See, that's the thing. The 86 and 87 U.S. tour is kind of fuzzy to me, but we would split it up. And I think on the 86 one, Hugo did the full loop. He was the ramp rider, kind of star of the show, ramp rider. And then some of us changed. And I think it must have been Oleg on there, Oleg Konings. I forget who else would have done the other leg, because obviously I wasn't there. But and then on the next year, 87, similar thing, but Matt Hoffman was the main guy, and he did the whole thing. And I think Kevin Jones picked up on 87 when he got started showing up. But yeah, 86 was like both US and Europe, UK. But you know, they weren't long tours as compared to like some other, like CW toured forever. Haro tours were super long. We did 3 weeks at a time usually. Yeah, you know,
that's quite nice though. Huh?
Yeah, it wasn't, and even on 3 weeks, I remember it was kind of a head trip because, like, I remember sitting there thinking, man, I got a spot like on all this. This is crazy. And people were starting to get good back home. Like I had a window of maybe a year where I could like proudly go out there and feel like I was the guy at the park. It didn't last long though. Like Mark McKee and Aaron and Eric Emerson and those guys, and Pete Brand even came in maybe a little. He was kind of younger, but you know, those guys started coming up, and there was a point where I was touring, and I was like, these guys are doing some cool stuff. You know, like it was becoming obvious that like it was a changing of the guard going on, and so there was definitely pressures and stuff, you know, about all that, and getting lower scores. And once I got into pro, it was a pretty full class, and you know, there were people just killing it, and I wasn't consistent. Just honestly, you know, and I was also starting to like street riding again because it was back to like, let's just enjoy this again. I live in San Francisco, and I like riding around on the street. That's what I did when I was a little kid. To ride around where all the docks were and all that stuff, and make crappy jump. You know, like it was part of the thing was the explore part. So I don't know. It was becoming a little too much pressure for me personally, and just, you know, but I had a spot. I wanted to keep it, you know, super conflicting, right? Yeah. Super conflicting. You know, why would you leave now? You're a dummy. And there were people, remember back, like in the park, that was turning into a flatland only scene. And I would go away for a while, do some tour. And there were times where we just did a few weekends in a row, even locally. And I'd come to the park, like, oh, I haven't been here in a while, because it was only Sundays they did it, you know. And it would be like, I'd be like, okay, you guys, are we going to ride around? Like, we're going to do the same shit? We're going to go, let's go freaking ride around, you know? And people were like, no, we're practicing. We're doing, you know, I'm like, practicing. Like, I started to get to the point where I didn't want to practice anymore. I wanted to ride. You know, I wanted to just go be with my friends and hang out and not worry about trying to keep up with Dennis McCoy or R.L. Osbourne or any of them, you know, like, I'm not getting paid like them. I'm not getting, you know, I don't have the same talent level, and I don't have the same drive, and I don't even
no longer appeals, does it, when it gets like that? So.
I don't even have the same desires anymore. I don't, like, I want to just do it for me and not for, you know, there's not going to pay me enough. I'm not that good. Like, so it was like, there's a transition time for me personally where I was just like, you know, people in the park would say, you know, like, we don't want to do this. And I remember one time somebody said within earshot of me, like, man, he's blowing it. Like, you know, he's sponsored and he just wants to go ride street, you know? I was like, screw that, you know, like it just got to the point where I was like, I don't care what happens. I'm just going to do this. And then I started sucking more contests. And it was like, I dorked my last contest in 87. I was like, this is it. I'm done. This is my last one. I rode to like Chuck Berry's My Ding-a-Ling. It's just like dorked my run and just, fuck this.
What was the Euro tour? Where did you go in Europe in that 86 tour? Did you just come to the UK? Or?
No, it was Europe. It was France, Germany, and God, I forget exactly now. I'm sure it was Denmark. I know it was Denmark.
Okay, the same as the previous one.
Yeah, pretty similar in loop. Yeah.
And what you rode the Slough? Was there a demo at Slough?
Yeah,
the race meeting,
in 86. That was the big thing in the UK. And I feel like I don't remember us doing much else besides Slough.
Maybe he wasn't here for long. It's funny because that was
could have been, I
think that was pretty close to the Chingford Jan date. Was the Slough demo?
Yeah, and I didn't get to go to that. I remember hearing about it. Yeah, the crazy thing that happened on that tour though, super trip. Like like, you know, already with all this stuff, like the world was getting smaller, you know, like, whoa, I get to go here, and I know people here. Like sometimes back then, you know, you're writing letters or something.
Yeah.
Hey, dude, that was cool, and I had, you know, started to know people, and like maybe I can couch surf if I go out to that. Maybe I have contact out here to hang with, you know, or like, and then we were going through Denmark. We did a show in Denmark. It was one of those like 2 shows at the bike shop thing. So we did the first show. It was me, Scotty, and Eddie. And I was like, hey, I want to get a drink or something. And, you know, where's the guy said, oh, yeah, walk down around there. And I remember it was a little downhill. It was kind of a loopy thing. And, you know, you're in Denmark, everybody's blonde. And I'm already feeling like I'm kind of dark-haired guy. I think I have BMX stuff on, so I'm like kind of standing out. And I'm walking down the street, nobody out there. And there's a guy walking up, only dude on the street. Start getting closer here, like, you know, make sure who's going which side or whatever. I'm like, oh, it's kind of a tall black dude in Denmark. What a trip. You know, 6 foot something. I'm a Damon. I swear to God, I walked down the street at the exact same time as Damon Frost, the guy that had you know, relinquished the space for me.
Dogs,
yeah, they get me in this spot. Like 2 years later, I'm walking down the street in Denmark, and I literally bump into the guy. If neither of us, if both of us had looked up in the sky, we would have run into each other.
Yeah,
and like, well, Damon, what's that? You know, what are you doing here? And I'm like, did you hear about the bike show or something? He's like, no. What's going on? I said, we got a bike show going on. We're at the bike show. You know, we're doing a show. He's like, no way. And I'm like, this is nuts, dude. Like, I used to think that if I ran into someone I knew in San Francisco that was small world, I was like, this is crazy. This is like, you know.
What was he doing there?
He had moved there. I didn't know
that.
Yeah, and like at the time, I didn't really know all his background, but he had mixed race parents, and one of his parents was from Sweden, so he had EU, not EU at the time, but he had dual citizenship, and so he was fully worldly, man. He was just like over here, and he established the breakdancing scene in Sweden.
Oh, okay.
He's like the OGest OG in Sweden. He like teaches breakdancing right now, full on. And he was OG in '84. He was pop locking, doing all that. You know, he was like, I think they call him the rubber man or something. You know, he was Boogaloo style or whatever. You know, different styles are. But yeah, just walking right up the street, I'm like, this is freaking nuts. You know, like, and he just went on his way. And I don't think he stayed and watched the show. I think he was busy. Wow. Yeah, it's a trip.
He still lives there, does he?
Yeah, yeah. His son's all grown, and he's does a dance studio, and he's all over the breaking contest. He's always a judge, and you know they do judge performances and stuff, and you always see videos of that. And his son's like a documentary filmmaker, and fully like accomplished one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
he's like full grown up. Yeah.
Yeah, the dude's on it, and like if you know Damon, like he's one of those dudes that just as a dude, he's like solid. You know. Yeah. I remember there were some things with some dramas going on a Facebook post, and it involved a family member, and I remember Damon just being the chill, de-escalate guy, you know, because like the person I'm talking about, I'm not going to name, but somebody was the opposite, you know, the extreme escalator, you know.
Yeah.
And Damon was just being chill, and I said, Damon, dude, I just want to tell you, man, you're proper because this person I know has an actual condition. So, you know, and I just think I just respect you hugely even more now, you know. So that's one of those guys that never disappointed, you know.
And can you remember if you met any newer riders when you came for the '86 demo?
Yeah, '86. There was God, I hope I don't forget anybody, but Damon Nichols was a guy we hung out. He was funny. We had a good time with him. Damon. Carlo Griggs was new, big. You know, he was riding a green street beat with a big old Bell Moto 4, I think. Yeah, big old head.
Yeah,
little kid. He made a street beat look big, and he was blasting big turndowns. That's what I remember there. Jason Lunn was riding.
Yeah.
What else was there? There were more people there. Jason.
Craig was at that one, I think.
Yeah, Craig was there. Craig was blasting. Craig was the consummate pro at that point. Like, and that was one of the first times I got to see him. I might have seen him. I might have been there when he went to Pipeline, but I forget if that was the same one. But watching him ride at Slough, there was one time, because it was like the ramps were just open to ride the whole time. It was almost like just an ongoing session with a couple of shows. Yeah, so we were all we had a lot of time to hang out and just fool around and and ride. And there was this one time where it felt to me like everybody was kind of like tired and chill, and like Craig kind of went out, and he was just blasting. I remember he was riding Green Tufts, and it was a windy day, and he just got up there. It was like he was getting 8s off of this one. Everybody else was in the 5 to 6 range, and he was like, you look at it now, and it maybe doesn't look as it's not Carla Griggs later level, like
I know there's a picture that I found recently, and I think it's what you're talking about. Yeah, he's huge.
Yeah, and I've got one too that I took. I know another guy took one right next to me of some of these things. It was funny, but I took one myself, and I remember putting him on a photo album, going, "Damn, that's blasting."
Yeah.
And he was smooth, and it was windy. That's what you don't see in the picture. It was windy as hell. And Craig went out there, and it was almost like everybody stopped to watch I don't know, to me, I remember it like kind of like sentimental like that. I'm all, damn, that dude's the consummate pro right now. Like, the other kids were blasting, but I mean...
Pepe was at that one as well, maybe. Do you remember him?
I know of Pepe, but I don't feel like
I think he was
hung out with him. Was he? Yeah, because there were a lot of people there. There were a lot. I know that, mostly I talked to Damon, because Damon and there was a crew of us that tried to go out and ride street. They were like, "Oh, you guys are street riders, Eddie, Eddie Roman," and it was kind of like we didn't find any good spots. And I remember I almost got hit too. Like, I did the blow it like US guy thing and looked the wrong way. I almost got slammed. And but we tried to go ride street, but like the spot, nobody knew what a street spot was, maybe, or something, And we went to this thing where there were these weird brick sort of seat things, and I was like, I could jump upon these, and there wasn't even really any Bubica. Like, there was nothing, like, it wasn't, I was like, I don't know what to do here, It's kind of like when a photographer would take you to a place, the photographers don't know spots either, right? And so we didn't really pull off like having our street ride. We rode, we rode a little in the town, but it wasn't anything. And I guess I heard, like, we were talking about this earlier today, and I guess that spot where Craig jumps that gap, that brick gap, was somewhere close to there. We could have ended up there. We would have had a great time.
Oh, okay. That's in Slough.
Slough gap.
Yeah.
But that photo was taken at the same time. Eddie Roman's in that photo, is it? I think.
Is it? Yeah. Oh, is he?
I think so, yeah.
I don't know.
Well, he's in that feature where I'm pretty sure that was the same time. So Nick Phillip is like in the corner taking the piss against the wall.
Is Eddie Roman in it? I know. Yeah, I know what you're saying. There's a few guys on there. Curious, yeah.
There's definitely a Skyway dude in that picture. For sure.
I thought it was Eddie Roman, maybe. But if not, he's on the next page doing like a bomb drop.
Yeah.
So I think that's the time where Nick Phillip talks about showing Eddie Roman the wall ride. Have you heard that story?
Was it there?
It was.
It could be.
That would point in time, I think.
That would totally make sense.
Eddie Roman went back to the US and he got the first picture of the wall ride in a mag.
Oh, he did.
After it had been seen. Yeah.
That's funny. Yeah.
Well, I mean, other than Hugo, who did the fence.
See, I call that the fence game first.
100%.
Myself. But wow, that kind of sucks. That's too bad.
I heard that. I can't remember where I heard that, but I've heard that twice.
That would be the timing. I know Eddie came back for one of those hole shots or something too.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
That year, it was that year.
Yeah. Yeah. So right.
That's Eddie in that picture.
Is it?
It is, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm not sure how that happened or why I didn't get to go on that
whole shot.
No, on that shot.
Yeah.
On that gap. I'm curious how that played out because, me and Eddie like always rode. There was no way I would have stayed back if Eddie was going to ride street. So I wonder how I missed that session.
Was there a chicken involved?
There's what?
Was there a chick involved?
No, I don't. Unfortunately, not. No play at Slough. No.
And so, did you? You carried on just riding for yourself?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
You just carried on, like, regardless, doing your own thing.
Yeah. Once 87 closed out, and I worked it out and got back home and got my room back at my mom's house that my brother had taken, and got into school to do computer stuff. Yeah, I was still doing some riding. I would stick my bike in the trunk of my car to go to school downtown, and then pull the bike out and ride some, and go to Embarcadero. Like I said, Embarcadero turned into my like spot because I just stayed home and I just wanted to fool around the street, and that was, you know, a lot of riding on the blocks.
Yeah, I know the spot. Yeah. Who's any of the skaters skating there at that point?
Oh yeah, no, I knew all of them. I used to hang out with them and goof with them, like James Kelch and a bunch of guys there. I'm forgetting names, but yeah. Like I remember they did. It was funny. I was kind of stoked because you know how there's you always hear about the animosity of it, but way after they did like an EMB like page or something, the skaters, and they put me in there. I was like, wow, you guys fucking cool. You know? I was stoked to be like included in their skate page. They were like, I was like, all right, that's cool, man. Like, you know, we were always like bitching about skate park access and everything, you know. But those guys were cool, and some good skaters came out of there for sure. James went was pretty.
Yeah, that was an infamous skate spot. Yeah.
Yeah. And then they changed it. So like, yeah, back then, but the cool thing was, it was funny because when I bailed on competing, Skyway or Freestylin did that picture thing, right? With the
that's what I was going to ask you about. Yeah,
like the transition out was like nice and soft. Like it was cool. It was, you know, I was bumming and I was head tripping about it. Like I always say, it's like everybody broke up with BMX at that point, you know, one way or the other. It was funny because I would still have my subscription and I still had all my friends, and I'd see those things like Maurice Meyer wasn't here, but he sure would have loved it if he was. They did that like 3 times or something. It was ridiculous. And it was this goofy picture, like it was this really goofy picture with the mustache ears and stuff, you know, and I'm like, it was hilarious. And I just kept cracking up. It was a total like Easter egg, like you know, because all those guys like Lou and Wendy and all them were totally cool to us. They totally included NorCal. They loved Vander. Vander was totally, you know, welcome there. And so that was a nice thing. Like it was just funny, and they were just goofing. And what else? There were a couple things. Oh, and,
so that was it. Embarcadero, the foot plant to Blunt, was that?
Oh, okay,
was that something else?
That was. Now I want to. I don't know how the timing of that was. They did
1990.
Yeah,
because I remember seeing that when it came out, and being like, "Whoa, Curb Dogs!" Like, and being like pretty fucking buzzing on it. Like, it's fucking cool. Look at this guy still rides. Like, and that was, you know, I was young then, and I remember that like fucking vividly. Like, well, this dude still rides. No, you just don't even care that he's not in a magazine or anything anymore.
Yeah, like, it helped a lot. Like that was the thing. Like they were still. Even though we got out, and even though I felt rejected from it and felt like a has-been, like as far as Flatland went, I sucked at that point, right? Like I'm, Kevin Jones just doing it. Like, give me a break, dude. Like, be real. Like, I appreciate the nice words sometimes, but it's like, dude, you know. So like at that point, but like that was the cool part, was the freestyling guys were. And Plus never put me in at that point, not at all. Yeah. Carl Roth was that Plus, a good friend, right? And Plus just wasn't about it. Like they weren't really about it as a scene. They were a little more newspaper like or something, you know. And
sensational.
Yeah,
that's what I get from looking at the cover. Like
their format was set at the top. And Carl Roth was telling me all this stuff because he worked there. We've always been close friends, and. You know, but Freestylin was, you know, they were doing all these cool layouts. They were pushing the design aspects of it. They were pushing, you know, they were the ones who did like the journalism, realism and all that. They just did a lot compared to, if you put all those magazines side by side,
wasn't it? Like,
totally. And it was a very, very much a loose scene, you know, and so it was cool because they did come up a few times and give us some coverage. They did that. I forget which one came first, but I remember, I think it was 89. I think it was 89 when they came up, and Spike shot some pictures at Embarcadero, and I did a manual. He got a manual picture, and he gave me a 2-page spread, and I was fucking pumped. I was just like, this is rad, dude. Like, I was still getting bikes from Skyway, and they were still being cool. Like, it was all good. But I had I wasn't getting a paycheck or anything, and they came up and shot that, and I was just stoked. I was just like, this is my scene. I'm doing exactly what I want to do. It's a moving picture. It's not an endo. I don't want to be an endo guy. And like, it was nice because it was like, yeah, we broke up, but we're still cool, like all, and then they did, and then I think it was a different time when they came up and shot that,
that was for Go,
the foot plant thing.
But both the manual and the foot plant were, to me, like they're skate ideas, right?
Yeah,
like
totally.
Both of them things was like thinking forward.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'll be honest, it was a little the foot plant of Bubaka was, I don't know where that idea came from, but it was definitely that spot made that trick.
Yeah.
Because that spot was perfect. It was a low, like wooden thing, and the bench was even had a curl to it, right?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like you even had a little curl right where you wanted to put your wheel, and I had a coaster brake still, and it was even the right side. Like, that's my side. Like, everything about that spot was saying, wait, you can do something here. Like, you can foot plant off this, but what if you went over there, and like...
It was cool. Like the way you land on the bench and your foot is still off. As you hop it back, you put your foot on.
Yeah. It was like the spot was like, if you would try to make a spot to do that trick, you'd make it all the aspects of it. Like, and that the fact that they did that for me, I was like, right on, man. Like, it was kind of like capping off the riding time. That, it wasn't just Skyway. It wasn't, you didn't just squeak in on the thing. You deserve to be there at least. Not even, you don't have to be the best to be there. It was definitely like it helped me like adjust to, like, you're not going to be this like person with an original life being on the road doing BMX. You are going to go do corporate stuff. You're going to have to be in an office. Like, I remember telling Tommy Guerrero's mom, like, something, but she said something to me. I forget what I was responding to, but I said, yeah, but I'm never going to work at an office. Like, when I was cocky and 17 and just got off tour or something, she's like, you're like, whatever. But yeah, the freestyle guys definitely softened the blow, man. They were cool, always cool.
And what did you go on to do, like, for a living after that?
So, like, so I went to school for a year and a half, and doing electronics, like hardware. Like, I was tuning disk drives and doing all this hardware stuff, and I learned some software, and ended up, I went my first little job in 90, what was it, 88, maybe 89. Yeah, it might have been 89, 90. My first job was in, I was doing kind of like the in-house guy, doing computer, like setting up terminals for at all the desks and running cable. And I got into software and Unix level stuff at that point. And that turned into working with bigger companies, and then working for software companies. So yeah, I do Unix programming stuff.
Still now?
Yeah, that's my bag, and it's a good thing. I work at a big bank, and, just 9 to 5. I work at home full time now, so it's pretty chill. It kind of segued from being like a hardware. When I went to school for it, most people would have like repaired copy machines or stuff like that, repaired functioning electronics, but it kind of turned into software and Unix,
Cool, man. And you still ride now?
I haven't ridden in a while. It's like COVID slowed it down. Like, riding now is we have a crew of about 4 or 5 of us that leave the city and go down to San Jose skate park.
Is that the one with a curved sort of wall, right? Like the slimy curved wall?
Yeah, there's one with
pictures.
Yeah, that place. It's got a full pipe and a whole. It's a badass
the one where
park.
Ron does the big airs.
Yeah, exactly. The Man Bowl. Yep, it's that place. It's fun. Yeah, and so it's a good scene. We need to pick it up again. It's been like super rainy this last year between COVID and big rain season. But yeah, there's a few of us. It's funny, like me and another guy both still ride coaster brakes, and some of my buddy Dennis, the guy who did the Curb Dog logo, he's still in San Francisco. Another guy, Rob Lee, original, like we're from the same neighborhood. Like it's like these are tight, way long time friends. And another guy, Josh, who lives a little further down. So that's kind of our main crew. We get together and then we'll meet other people there, like, you know. But people that we rode with, like, man, and who? Joe, yeah. Yep. And we meet down there at Lake Cunningham, and some of the people. I mean, Rob I've known ridiculously long. It's like our you know, my brother and his brother know each other. But like riding wise, these are people I know from the 80s.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, awesome.
I'm kind of the older guy. Like Vince Torres is a little older than me. Hugo is older than me. I don't see Hugo riding that much these days, but he'll pop in sometimes. Ron is a little older than me. Not
he
much.
Fascinates me, yeah.
But he rides hard.
Yeah.
He rides more than any of us, of course. He was doing a few years back. He was doing the like stealthy mega ramp stuff. He had this idea. I'm going to do 50 feet for when I turn 50 for 50. So I think he was calling it 24. Some kind of math, but anyway, maybe it's something like 24 feet high ramp. So I'm going to go 26 feet out of that. You know, it's like, Ron, dude, what are you doing? And we saw the first times he started coming to the mega ramp, and he was kind of sketch, but like you were like, but it was obviously he's a pro and he knows he will dial this in. And he started doing the full jump, you know. And I remember he did one. I took a video of him bailing out like 15
I think I saw it actually, yeah,
right?
Yeah.
But he made, you know, like a pro, freaking with real ramp experience. He got out of that, you know, like he knee slid or whatever.
I remember, it was a few years back.
And then he started getting it. And then, like, there were pictures. Like, I remember we came home one time from the skate park and I dropped Dennis off and he got a text from Ron. It was like this look from across. Like, it was one of those just like straight on looks. Dude, that's an 18 or 20.
Right.
Like that, it was big. And I was like, Jesus, Ron, like, You're freaking 50 years old too. So, yeah, maybe 50, so it was 6 years ago or something.
Yeah.
But just balls, dude. You know, I'm just like, yeah, it's fine. You got that freestyling cover way back then. You deserve it. It doesn't matter that you may not have been born in San Francisco and all that shit, like local stuff, but you are the man. You know? Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, Ron's cool, man. Yeah, he's a solid dude. Like I know, you know, everybody. There's all kinds of weird dramas in BMX, and it's like, man, come on, Ron did so much for it. You know? Yeah,
it's still going. That's fucking awesome.
He is totally still going. And the thing is, like I don't know if this is like a thing everybody does, but he could care less about a variation or any of that. He just wants to get high. Like that mound bowl area he does, you probably saw. He's like 10 feet out.
Yeah, the one he was in one of them pictures.
Yeah. And if you see the run up, it's ridiculous. It's a peanut shape, and you have to like balls out run, like watching Dennis, you know, Wingham ride Chelsea. Yeah. You know, like that's crazy, that run up he has to do for that. Ron's thing is similar. It's like he does like a half loop. He comes from one side, and he has to roll into the like right under coping. You know, like so his first contact with the wall is right under coping on the small side. And I might be wrong on this, but I swear to God, I think he's going over stairs too. I think he rolls in, stays really high and tight, and then comes down, does a pump, and just takes one shot air out, you know.
A big pull coat.
No warm up, like, you know, did some flow, did some, no. It's just like, yeah, I mean, dude, it's...
We need that photo.
Yeah, he could care less about the variations, you know. He's like, none of this fancy stuff. I just want
to brilliant enough, yeah.
Yeah.
Fuck. All right, we kind of covered it all, I think.
Yeah.
That was fucking awesome.
Yeah, dude, that was good, man.
Magic.
Hope you enjoyed that. Thanks for watching or listening, whichever one you did. If you want to support the channel, like, comment and subscribe. We also have some merch available. Soft goods, hard goods, union zines. new Union Speed Roast coffee over on the Bicycle Union site. Go check it out. See you next time, jabronis.